Good evening, everybody. My name is Evan Pladlat. I'm joined with my friend Scott Glaza. We are administrators of NuggetBridge.com, and we are proud to be giving you guys a tournament tonight for the 9 to midnight shift. It's a good way to spend your Saturday night. Some great VGC battles here. For those of you who don't know, NuggetBridge.com is a website specializing in the VGC metagame, which is the Pokemon Company International's official metagame. They host tournaments across North America and also Europe. And we had 3 regionals in North America. We're coming up on nationals. We've got nationals in Europe coming up. And we've got tonight some of the top battlers in North America doing some exhibition matches for you guys. Those of you who don't know, VGC, a really quick rundown of the rules. All of these matches are played in the doubles format. That means that there will be 2 Pokemon out of the field for each person at a time for a total, as opposed to the normal 1, or even if you're doing triples, 3. At the same time, all those Pokemon are going to be level 50, unless they are below level 50, like some cheesy strategies are. Any Pokemon above level 50 is brought down to 50 for the match, but those below 50 stay as is. Everyone brings 6 Pokemon to the game, but they can only choose 4 for the actual battle. So that means you're bringing 6, choosing 4. We have species clause and items clause, meaning you can't have 2 of the same species or 2 of the same item on your team, which ensures that you have some diversity in the event. As far as bans, any Pokemon that can't play in the battle subway, yes, that means Mewtwo, that means Kyogre, means Groudon, Rayquaza, and Ho-Oh, Zekrom. All of those fun Pokemon are banned from VGC, as you might expect. The moves Dark Void and Skydrop are also banned, and the item Soul Dew, but Latios and Latias are allowed. And these games are going to be played on their Pokemon Black and Pokemon White 2 versions. That's a quick rundown of what you'll be seeing tonight. We have some really great battlers coming up. All of these battlers have won a regional championship here in North America, so you're really seeing the best of the best as far as North American scene is concerned. We are pretty proud to be a part of this podcast, the Elite Four Podcasts charity water stream. I'm from the state of Tennessee, and if any of you other Tennesseans are out there watching, you know that Georgia keeps trying to take our water, but just so they can water their McMansions. But some places have some real issues with water security, and I'm really happy to be a part of an event that's going to help alleviate, even in some small part, this real problem. We're currently at $10,790. Would love to get a little bit more out for this great cause. Looks like right now we have a $12,000 goal, but I know that we can beat this. We're going to be looking at a few matches tonight. Our first match, I believe, is going to be users Phonic Frog and R Inanimate. The Missouri Regional and the Oregon Regional Champions are going to be the first one we've seen. Both of these players, really strong competitors in the VGC scene, and just 2 really strong trainers. They've dominated at most events they've been at. Scott, what do you think of this matchup?
I think it's a game that could very likely be a preview of a match that'll happen late at Nationals later this year. I'm rooting for Phonic Frog because he's beaten me 3 times this year. So by virtue of having beaten me, he's obviously the best. But he got a top 16 at Nationals last year. He played in Worlds and ended up in the middle of the field the year before that. Every year he's one of those players who tends to go very deep in every event, but doesn't quite go all the way. The first time he'd won an event was regionals this year in January, and I think it would have been a long time coming. He's a great guy and a great player, and we'd all kind of been rooting for him. On the other side of the field, R Inanimate is by far the best trainer in Canada. I think it's more surprising when he doesn't win events than when he does at this point, even though he was eliminated in the top 8 of the Canadian Championships last year. He's also the reigning champion of the Nugget Bridge Major Tournament, so he's been pretty effective on our site. But he won a regional earlier this year and managed to go top 8 at another one.
Yeah, our inanimate or Randy has been a pretty top tier threat now. Uh, it's really kind of astounding that he didn't manage to get that win at the Canadian Nationals. Everyone sort of expected him to coming out of that. Didn't pull it out, but definitely someone who has a lot to prove. Same with Phonic Frog. He's, as you mentioned, he goes pretty deep, but never finally makes it all the way. But he did pull out that win in Missouri. Both of these players very consistently good, which is going to make for a really incredible match when we get going here, I believe.
So I think one thing that's interesting about this too is Phonic Frog is one of the more defensive VGC players. He's known for he'll switch a lot more. He'll use bulkier Pokemon, whereas our inanimate is known for using a lot of Pokemon with choice items. He plays very aggressively. Like he can switch well too because he's a smart guy, but he's looking to make the big offensive plays. Whereas maybe on the other side, Phonic Frog's just trying to make plays to get himself in safer positions where he can attack with less risk. So it should be an interesting mix of the higher risk decisions on our inanimate side versus the less risky choices on Phonics Frog side.
Yeah, and I'm really glad we're getting this look into these two players, especially for people who are unfamiliar with the VGC scene, because Phonic Frog, when I think of defensive players, Phonic Frog is way up there on the list of people who pull it off and pull it off well. And Randy, he's always got something up his sleeve. Our inanimate does. We saw him doing really well with Staraptor earlier on. And, Staraptor's not a Pokemon you expect to do very well, but Randy makes it work, which is great. I'm looking at the Twitch chat here. If you guys have any questions about VGC, would love to field it while we're waiting for these matches to get underway. It's not a metagame most people are familiar with, mostly because most people are playing the singles metagames, but with doubles you get a lot of really cool, really fun strategies that you don't often see in singles. Trick Room is huge in doubles that you don't normally see in singles. What do you think about some of the different strategies that we see in VGC, Scott?
I think just by virtue of having two Pokemon out, it makes a lot of things that aren't very good in singles fun in doubles. Like Intimidate is a lot stronger because it hits two targets. Tailwind is a lot stronger because even though it only boosts your speed for two more turns after the turn you use it, you can do a lot more with it with 2 actions per turn. Trick Room, the same thing, but in reverse. With 2 Pokemon on the field, you can do a lot more. It's harder just to make safe switches in VGC since you're being threatened by 2 Pokemon instead of by 1. So a lot of moves that change the effect of the field are a lot more powerful and useful in VGC than they would be in singles.
Yeah, and I've got a question from Twitch chat. DarkerEye1428 asks if there are tiers, OU and under. There are not tiers in the VGC metagame. It just uses the Battle Subway metagame. So if you can't bring it to the Battle Subway, you can't bring it to a VGC event. That basically means none of the cover legendaries, what most people think of as the obvious Ubers, Darkrai, Kyogre, Mewtwo's, Mew. No event Pokemon are allowed either, especially like the Mews and the Jirachis that some other metagames include, but that's basically the tier list there. VGC has been around since 2008 in some form or another. Unbroken. We also had the Journey Across America, which was the first doubles tournament back in, 2006, Scott?
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah, that was in 2006 on Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, using some really broken mechanics there, which is actually a lot of fun, but it is a little bit weird. But we've been playing a similar metagame since 2008. The current metagame, which allows all Pokemon except for the Ubers, the same as we played last year, and similar to 2009 as well, except for the different generations of Pokemon. Chrysera says when you went to a VGC tournament, they let you play with Mewtwo's and Mews. Mew has never been allowed in a VGC tournament, but some of the past years have allowed some of the Ubers in. Especially 2010 is the best example where you were allowed quote-unquote restricted Pokemon. but only 2 could be allowed on a team. So you did see some Mewtwo's there, especially Kyogre that year. And let's see, who else is playing? Yeah, we should probably go through that. So we've taken 10 regional champions from this season of the VGC circuit, and we've seeded them 1 through 10. 7, 10, 8, and 9 played buy-in matches to get to the tournament. Right now, we're going to watch R Inanimate versus Phonic Frog, the 5 and 4 seeds, respectively. We also have Zach Droidkamp, who is the winningest regional champion, won 3 straight regional champions, finally lost one. He's won Wisconsin in 2012, and then Florida and Indiana this year. We also have Ben 7000, who won the Virginia Regional, who is in 2nd place right now. Aaron Zhang, Cybertron, 2-time national champion in the seniors division, is bringing up 3rd place with a victory in Massachusetts. Benji the Great won his regional in Texas. He's in the 6th seed. And former senior world champion Cameron Cams Jihadi is taking up 7th seed right now. He won the North California Regional previously. In the 8th seed, we have Corey Muller of Wisconsin, who took that regional. And then 9th seed is Noobly 9730, aka Jacob Burrows, the older brother of junior world champion last year. He won the SoCal regional, the Southern California. And in the 10th seed, we have Sabaku, who won the Georgia regional just a couple weeks ago. So those are the list of the players that will be competing tonight in these show matches here.
So we do have our first results of the buy-in matches, but Sabaku played Cams, and Sabaku won 2-0 there, so he'll move on to the actual bracket, I guess, to play his first-round match against Ben 7000.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a tough match for Sabaku. Ben 7000, another incredibly consistent player, took home the win in Virginia, beat me in top 8 actually, and also took home the prize at Apex, the Pokemon tournament, at the sub-tournament at the Smash event there.
And then he followed that up with a 2nd place regional finish against Cybertron too, so he's been really, really good in the calendar year of 2013.
Yeah, he comes in here 2nd place. We rank these by championship points, which are new to the season this year. Instead of doing Worlds Invites by Nationals placements, we're doing Worlds Invites by championship points, which you gain from placing at regionals and at nationals at different events. And 2nd place, he doesn't have the 2nd most in the country right now. That would be my co-commentator, Scott. But Scott's never won a regional, so Ben takes a 2nd seed here as the most in the tournament, besides Zach and besides Scott, who's here with me now.
Winning is super overrated anyway, so.
Dark Soul Umbreon is from Georgia. Georgia, please don't take my Tennessee water. If you're concerned about water issues, you can donate down at the, I believe there's a button right here, it says donation page. Click there, donate to Charity Water, help get clean water to countries in Africa. Important issue, I don't mean to make light, but Georgia, don't take the water, donate water to Charity Water.
So it looks like we're enjoying the best part of Wi-Fi here, which is, I hate to immediately start off with this, but Nintendo's Wi-Fi, as most of you who have played a Nintendo game online are probably aware of, is not very good. And poor Kamal and Randy are having some trouble connecting here, so Randy's going to reset his DS and say some prayer to whatever divine being he believes in, and maybe the match will connect so we can actually play Pokemon here rather than talking about water. But water is important, and you should definitely donate. Maybe if you donate, those divine beings, feel good about us and give us good karma and let us play.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the things that you have to get used to when you're playing Pokemon online over Nintendo's Wi-Fi. Most victories are are done by Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is usually the champion in these situations, but hopefully we'll get through it. Yes, Enosh Ben is here.
Oh, is he here now?
I expect.
Oh, yeah, he is here now.
Yes.
He showed up within about a minute, so. Way to show up, Ben. Better late than never.
Team preview. Gig FL4 SHK. There has to be a better way to say that, but it's escaping my mind. Asked if anyone else dislikes Team Preview. I actually quite like Team Preview. As we see right now, we've got the 6 Pokemon that Randy, our inanimate, is using here. That's going to be Politoed, Kingdra, Togekiss, Rhydon, Scizor, and Salamence going up against Kamal's Pokemon here. I love Team Preview because you get to see what your opponent's what kind of strategy your opponent's using right here, and sort of react accordingly. Looking at this, we've got Politoed, whose Drizzle ability summons the rain endlessly, which alongside Kingdra makes this seem like a pretty heavy rain team. But then we also have the Rhydon there. Probably just there for his Lightning Rod ability to protect those rain Pokemon and also Togekiss, but definitely an interesting team. What do you make of this at first glance, Scott?
Well, I guess the first thing I notice is that we have viewers who don't watch a lot of doubles, some of the more interesting doubles mechanics are at play here. Obviously, he can set up Drizzle and send out a sweeper on the same turn with Politoed and Kingdra. Togekiss has the Follow Me ability, which attracts single target attacks away from his sweepers. And then he's got Lightning Rod to protect Kingdra and Politoed from lightning attacks. If anyone tries to use Thunderbolt or Thunder, it'll go straight to Rhydon there. So he's got lots of clever ways to protect his Pokemon here. He is fairly electric weak if Rhydon can be removed. He's got 2 Pokemon are weak to electric. Kingdra and Scizor, and I guess Salamence too, all take electric attacks really poorly too. So if Kamal does have a electric Pokemon, it'll be really important for him to try to kill that Rhydon.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that immediately leaped out to me as well. Rhydon is his only electric resist. In fact, it's an immunity, and his Lightning Rod ability will redirect any electric type attacks to Rhydon. But as soon as that goes out, Randy would have a lot of trouble with a powerful special sweeper, like a Thundurus that we see a lot in these games. And it looks like here we go, heading into battle. Our first battle, these are all going to be best of 3 matches. Which is the standard for VGC top cuts at regionals and also at nationals, just to ensure that we get the highest quality games and the best possible result. Randy is going to be at the top of your screen. Our inanimate at the bottom of your screen is Phonic Frog. Randy leading with Kingdra and the Scizor versus Phonic Frog's Cresselia and Gastrodon. Gastrodon great against these this rain sort of team, but that Scizor immediately threatening everything on the field.
And one thing I did notice in team preview is that our inanimate's team is pretty fast, and Cresselia often carries the Trick Room ability, so he would definitely love to get that off here. Although with Scizor out in the field, it'll be difficult for him to accomplish that. Gastrodon has the Storm Drain ability, which attracts water-type attacks, and gets a special attack boost while negating the damage. One thing that will help our inanimate side here is Kingdra typically uses Muddy Water as its water attack, so it'll still be able to damage Gastrodon's partner if it wants to risk giving Gastrodon that free special attack boost.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to see some of these double-centric Pokemon and abilities coming out. Gastrodon immediately with its Storm Drain ability. You're right, Muddy Water targets both opponents, so it will be able to deal damage to its partner. But Gastrodon not having any of it. Tyranitar coming out on Phonic Frog's side. It's going to summon the Sandstream, the Sandstorm, possibly expecting a Politoed, just trying to get that out. But Kingdra going with the very powerful Draco Meteor attack. Very common on that Pokemon, deals so much damage there. Over half. That's 2/3 HP to Cresselia, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game, with just that one Draco Meteor. And Cresselia using the Hidden Power on the Scizor. That's Hidden Power Fire, I have to assume. Going to do so much damage to that Scizor. One hit KO. HP Fire is one of those great metagame adjustments that we saw. No one else used Hidden Power up until Nationals 2012, and then it was everywhere just because of Scizor.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting trick by Kamal there. Since he's known as more of a defensive player, like I mentioned before, you wouldn't expect Hidden Power Fire from him as much as some other players, because to use Hidden Power Fire and consistently get that kill on Scissor, you have to use a less bulky version of Cresselia, which is why Draco Meteor did so much damage there. Ordinarily, Cresselia would still take a good chunk of damage there, but probably about 15-20% less than it did, and often it'd have Citrus Berry and heal. But since it didn't have that, it's probably an offensive extra belt Cresselia here, and Randy fell into Kamal's trap on turn 1 there.
Yeah, Randy going ahead and sending out the Salamence, going to get that Intimidate off on both the Cresselia and the Tyranitar, lowering their attack by 1 stage. In doubles, it of course targets both of them. Not so much a big deal for Cresselia, but -1 on Tyranitar is a pretty good amount to deal. That Kingdra, of course, is at -2 special attack, so it's not going to want to stick around for some of these attacks, though.
A bit of an awkward spot for Randy here, since he has to get rid of the Cresselia, since it almost assuredly has Icy Wind or Ice Beam, which will make short work of that Salamence. But he also has to get Kingdra out of the field because it's minus special attack right now. And Tyranitar is there threatening to Rock Slide even at -1 and do a decent bit of damage to the Rock Weak Salamence. So a tough spot for Randy's side here. And Kamal doesn't have a whole lot of momentum, but still, I mean, with a lead in the match, easier play for his side.
Salamence has to worry about the Rock Slide, but in doubles, if you have an attack that targets multiple opponents, it cuts their attack damage, or it cuts their base power by 75%. So at -1, it's not going to deal that much damage. But Randy, not going to let him take any free damage at all. Goes ahead and switches out. It means he can bring it back in for another Intimidate if he needs. Switches in his Politoed. Gets that Rain set back Kingdra, though it's still at -2 right now. Phonic Frog making a great move. Going to go ahead and switch that Cresselia out for Gastrodon in expectation of a Water-type attack here. Ooh, and there it is. Rock Slide, one of the best moves in the game because it can get you those flinches.
Yeah, interesting the Tyranitar move before Kingdra, though. That's probably a nod to Tyranitar's item there.
Which is interesting because that's not something we see normally on these defensive players. So our entire pregame of Phonic Frog, the defensive player, against Randy, the sort of heavy offense, weird guy. He's just got the Rhydon, but nothing too weird out of Randy, and something very offensive out of Phonic Frog.
Yeah, I mean, now you can't believe us about anything, right? Like, I mean, is VGC even really a metagame? Like, are the rules we're telling you really true? Like, you can't really be sure now.
Yes, who knows? We could just be making this up as we go along, which is totally not the case. I would never do that. But now that Politoed's out, Kingdra does have the Swift Swim boost on it now with the Rain, so that Tyranitar is going to want to get out just so we can reset that again. But still, Kingdra at -2, not the biggest threat.
Gastrodon's a good spot here. Kamal made a really smart switch in the previous turn, expecting the water move, which probably would have came without the flinch, so he's got the momentum now.
Yeah, and effectively walling that Politoed too, unless it's carrying Hidden Power or Grass, which it very well could be. Salamence comes back out to get rid of the -2 on Kingdra, and also get another Intimidate off on that Tyranitar, but Tyranitar is having nothing of it, and switches out itself for Cresselia, who's pretty low right now, but still reasonably bulky. Ice Beam from Politoed does not have Hidden Power Grass, which is going to be real trouble for Randy. Gets an Ice Beam on Gastrodon and an Ice Beam on Salamence. 4 times super effective. And a critical hit. But it holds on with the Focus Sash. Focus Sash Salamence. That one's new.
I don't think I've ever seen that before, but obviously it pays off for him here. I mean, that makes sense when you think about it. Lots of Pokemon have ice moves, and almost all of them kill Salamence in one shot. So at least in VGC, where you're going to have to deal with that more, pretty smart as long as you can avoid keeping sand on the field, which he's done a good job of stopping with Politoed so far.
It also protects him from like random Draco Meteors too,
yeah.
which
I guess is the bigger thing in most games. A great play by Kamal there to Ice Beam the Salamence switch. I'm not sure if he did it because he was predicting Salamence or because it was his highest base power move on Kingdra, depending on whether or not he has Earth Power or not. But excellent move either way.
Yeah, either way, it brought it down to its Focus Sash, which means that if that Tyranitar comes back out and resets the Sandstorm. That'll be more than enough damage to kill Salamence at the end of the turn with that chip damage from Sandstorm.
Yeah, it's puts Randy in a really tough spot too, because I'm sure he'd like to get Palatoad out here in order to reset the weather again after Tyranitar does come in. But if he does that, he'd have to leave in Salamence since he only has 3 Pokemon left, which would lead to Salamence dying to the sand.
Yeah, this is a really tight spot for Randy here at the top of your screen. Really great plays by Phonic Frog. Going a little bit out of his shell, a little bit more offense, and it's paying off for him. Mentioned wants to switch out just in case it needs weather. Gastrodon sticks around and protects. So does the Cresselia, maybe giving Randy a chance to make sure that Salamence doesn't die from the weather, but it will die to the icy wind from Cresselia instead. Easily KOs that Salamence and also gets -1 speed on that Kingdra. Not the biggest thing because it's still at +1 thanks to Swift Swim, but it will add up over time.
Now with Randy falling down to 2 Pokemon here, he has to send out Palatoad. So Kamal can send out his Tyranitar again at his earliest convenience, and Rain will stay permanently off in the game. I think that's one of the biggest part of these Rain versus Sand matches. And VGC here is, trying to switch in your weather controller at the right point so you can keep the weather you need up. And with only 4 Pokemon on the side, it only takes 2 kills to win that weather war for good.
Yeah, and this is something that we see pretty frequently in VGC. It's very weather focused, some of these games. Usually rain and sand. We don't see so much sun. We see more hail than sun, but we see very little of both of those. So it's usually the rain versus sand matchup, and they usually play out something similar to this. With, of course, Phonic Frog at the bottom of your screen getting the advantage in this particular game. And with Gastrodon out of the field, Draco Meteor is going to deal a healthy amount of damage to it, but I'm not so sure that Randy can pull out a win here.
Yeah, I mean, to kill Gastrodon, he's probably going to have to whip out the Draco Meteors here, and by doing so, he's going to have a really hard time dealing with Tyranitar. So Kamal has just played really well. He's got a big lead, and he's got great Pokemon to exploit that lead with.
Yeah, and at -2 special attack after the Draco Meteor, Kingdra's not going to be busting through that Tyranitar, which gains a special defense boost in the sand because of its rock type. But Gastrodon's not going to let it get a chance to take it out, hoping to wall that Politoed if need be. Switches out for Tyranitar, sets the sand. Now Kingdra is quite slow. Politoed using its Helping Hand attack, which it learned in Black and White 2, brand new ability, boosts the attack of its partner Pokemon by 50% base, just to get a really powerful Draco Meteor off there from Kingdra, dealing quite a bit to that Tyranitar, but not quite enough for the KO. And with that speed that we already saw, plus the... Oh, well, it doesn't even matter because here comes the Psyshock from Cresselia. It's going to be more than enough to take out that Kingdra with that critical hit. So never mind there. Tyranitar, Cresselia, and Gastrodon versus the lone Politoed. Yeah,
one of the big things about trying to kill Gastrodon with the Rain team is to take out Gastrodon in one shot with Kingdra's Life Orb setup. You need to Helping Hand it, and that's what Randy was trying to do there. But Kamal saw right through it, and switched Tyranitar into it. So Gastrodon would easily be able to close this one out if he needed to. But looks like Tyranitar and Cresselia probably have this one under control.
Gastrodon's going to be able to take a much-needed break as it rests up for next match, which I would be shocked if it didn't see some more action after this display here. That crunch and the Psyshock on the Politoed, more than enough to finish it off. And the Politoed, no more rain, rain, go away. Politoed faints. And Kamal, Phonic Frog at the bottom of your screen, takes a 1-0 lead. With 4-0. Wow. I didn't even... Wow.
So yeah, we never actually saw his last...
We never actually saw the fourth.
So really expertly played game by Kamal there. He had a lot of great tools to use against Rain there, and he made the most out of all of them. It's a tough matchup for Randy. I think he can definitely make game 2 closer than he made game 1 there, but probably a little disheartening. I mean, it always sucks to lose that hard, and Kamal played a great game there. I don't think he could have been any better, and it's always a little bit intimidating, but Randy's a great player. He's done as well as he has. The past few months, including his regional win by being a great player. So he knows how to shake off a loss and deal with it. I know he lost game 1 of Top Cut during the regional run he won. So he's been here before.
The hallmarks of some of these top level players, especially in the best of 3 format, you have to be able to bounce back from a loss like that. I mean, a 4-0, no one wants to bounce back from, but no one wants to have to bounce back from. But if anyone can do it, it's someone like Randy here.
Yeah, I'm curious what he'll do to adjust to game 2 here. And he has the. So trying to remember, he had Togekiss, he had Rhydon that he didn't use that game, and well, both of them are kind of provide interesting options here. I don't know. I mean, Rhydon would be interesting to deal with both terrain. I guess almost everything we saw last game actually.
So I do have Kamal Phonic Frog's team as well. So Phonic Frog, as we saw, was using Cresselia, Tyranitar, and Gastrodon. He also has in the back Metagross, Yanmega, and Excadrill, as we're seeing right here on our screen for a brief moment there. So given all of that, that looks like a really tough matchup for Randy, as we saw the first game. Do you think that any of these combinations can bounce back there?
I mean, I definitely prefer being Kamal right now, but I think that I think that he could do something with either of the 2 Pokemon that he didn't use last game. I mean, Togekiss would be praying a little bit because it's not going to have a big impact unless it's by spamming Air Slash and getting the flinches. But I think Rhydon's actually the one that seems kind of interesting here. It walls most of Tyranitar's moves, so it forces him to lock into low kick, which makes it much more manageable. And Gastrodon takes decent damage from it, even though it deals pretty good damage back also. And the other thing, too, is like Cresselia, again, unless its 4th move is Grass Knot, which sometimes offensive Cresselia carries, but I would be surprised if that's Kamal's 4th move. Icy Wind doesn't do that much to it, so it can tank that decently well and fire back with Mega Horn. So if there's a Pokemon change, I'd expect that would be it.
Well, we also saw last match that our inanimate Randy got pretty, blindsided by that Hidden Power Fire, taking out his Scizor immediately, that first turn of the game. Scizor probably can do is pretty good against this team. It just has to worry about, not getting one-shotted by Hidden Power Fire the first turn of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's rough, too. When you start out down 4-3 like that, especially in a matchup like Rain versus Sand, where you really need to use all of your Pokemon to control the field, you're fighting a losing battle there. So, with Game 2 here, a big part of Best of 3 in VGC is that use the information from the previous games to make better decisions in the future games. And with Game 2 here, he made some big mistakes earlier in that game with some of Kamal's more surprising movesets, such as the offensive Cresselia catching him off guard. And now it's his chance to adapt to that and not make the same mistakes he did the previous time.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most interesting parts of Best of 3s. We mentioned how you have to not go on tilt after a particularly tough loss like a 4-0 like the first game, but it's also game 1s are a lot about getting the information, and our inanimate definitely gained a lot of information there. Just knowing that Cresselia is offensive changes so much in how you play around Cresselia, which is one of the really strong points of Cresselia, is that defensive and offensive Cresselia play entirely different, and they have different counters, and you have to play around it differently. And now that he knows that it's offensive, he can make those adjustments and play accordingly. And it looks like we're going to hop into this battle. Of course, on the top of your screen is going to be Randy, our inanimate Qua, and at the bottom, at the top of your screen, Randy, our inanimate Qua, and at the bottom of your screen, Kamal Phonic Frog Harris. Randy sending out Togekiss and the Scizor, a little bit of a change up from last time, and the Metagross Gastrodon leads coming out from Phonic Frog, also changed up. An entirely different match we've got here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Randy's Togekiss here. That isn't like an amazing matchup for it here, but Togekiss is kind of Randy's trademark Pokemon. It's on almost all of Randy's successful teams. And he gets around some of his more aggressive strategies, I guess, by using Togekiss as kind of a defensive pivot that can protect all of his more frail sweepers. So this might be a battle that's a little more to Randy's liking here. It'll be easier for him to play his style.
Gastrodon doesn't want to have anything to do with whatever Togekiss wants to do. It's going to go ahead and protect, and we see the Sword Stance immediately from Randy's Scizor. That's going to make it a huge threat. But Metagross going to go ahead and explode the first turn Protect Explosion. I'm so happy this hasn't happened since like last generation because Explosion got nerfed so hard in the transition. But here it comes. That I believe that was a normal gem on it too. Going to do so much damage to that Togekiss, possibly even get the KO on it. Not going to get the KO on Scizor probably, but bring it down to a very manageable HP there. Togekiss doesn't quite go down and recovers off with its Citrus Berry, but it's a very weakened state right now.
A really aggressive play, but wow, it pays off for him. Tons of damage to both of Randy's leads there. Metagross typically... Explosion isn't very common, I guess, for the non-VGC guys. And it used to be a great move in Generation 4, but once they split the... once they reduced the... what did they do? They removed the part of Explosion where it used to have your defense, but now it doesn't. So they effectively have the damage Explosion does this generation. So the risk usually isn't worth it anymore, but sometimes, the element of surprise and the amount of damage it can burst makes it pay off, and it certainly did there. Even though Kamal's down by a Pokemon now, took a big lead in damage.
He's down by a Pokemon, but both of Randy's Pokemon are in the yellow. Scizor still has that +2 from the Sword Stance, and it can still use its priority Bullet Punch, possibly with a Steel Gem, to pretty much chunk anything that Kamal decides to bring out here. But it's not going to be sticking around for much longer at that low health there.
Yeah, he also has Togekiss to protect it, so if Kamal tries to come out with any sort of single target attack here, Randy will be able to redirect it. We did see what we assume was Scarftar last game, which you'd think would be a good solution here normally. You could, just send out Scarf Tyranitar, get a quick Rock Slide off, and kill both of these Pokemon. But if it does have a Steel Gem, the +2 Bullet Punch will just kill it in one shot before it can move. And then there's the threat of Gastrodon being flinched by Togekiss Air Slash. So that option not as available as it would normally be.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the scariest parts of Scizor there, just because it has that priority. It has the Technician, which boosts the power of those low base power moves like Bullet Punch. Going to deal a whole heck of a lot of damage there. Cresselia's coming out. We saw that it was faster than Scizor before, so it's definitely going to put some pressure there. But of course, it can only use single target attacks, except for maybe Icy Wind, which isn't going to be enough to KO Scizor, and probably not going to be enough to KO that Togekiss either.
Yeah, it probably won't be. Another thing about offensive Cresselia is that unlike almost every other Pokemon in doubles, it doesn't ordinarily carry Protect. Well, this one might be since it has because it has an Explosion Metagross as a partner. But if it doesn't have Protect there, Scizor will get the Bug Bite off in that slot and probably kill whatever ends up sitting there at the end of the turn.
It could also take the free kill on Gastrodon, which showed Protect last turn. So if it tries to Protect again, it's only got a 50% chance. Though I expect it would probably want to switch out.
Yeah, so good pressure being created by Randy here. Kamal also has to think about what Randy's last two Pokemon is here, because it'd be very easy for him to lose either of these Pokemon this turn. He has to kind of ration out which Pokemon do I need to keep alive. If it's Palatoad and Kingdra in the back again like it was last game, and he lets Gastrodon die here, it could really hurt him. But if it's a different combination of Pokemon in the back, Gastrodon might wind up being dead white. So he's got to figure out what he thinks Randy did and try to figure out which Pokemon are worth preserving. And if he can keep both of them alive, ideally. Though that'll be hard here.
And you also have to wonder what fourth Pokemon Phonic Frog brought. If he brought Tyranitar and it gets KO'd by Scizor on the switch-in, only to have Politoed Kingdra in the back, then there's no more weather control on his side, which could be rough.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if it isn't Tyranitar as one of the remaining Pokemon against Rain. So, and I think that explains why we see Cresselia here, who isn't an awesome choice against the duo that Randy has out. Like, probably it is Tyranitar, and that's why he couldn't send it out. So, tough turn for Kamal here to avoid quickly evening the series at 1.
What I love about this is we're seeing how much pressure Togekiss places on on the opponent, because normally that Cresselia could just go ahead and get the KO with Hidden Power Fire, but because that Togekiss has Follow Me, Phonic Frog has had to take a very long time to think about this. Scizor, of course, on the other hand, is not going to have any of it. Goes for the Protect into the Icy Wind. Maybe not the best call there, but Togekiss avoids it and sets up the Tailwind. So now we've got +2 speed on Randy's side, while Gastrodon recovers, hoping to tank a +2 Bug Bite there. That's a very, very bad turn for Randy, or for Phonic Frog.
Yeah, I mean, I think the play actually makes a lot of sense on 616's side. You know, he uses the, or Phonic Frog, sorry. He uses the Icy Wind there to try to get Gastrodon faster than Scizor. So, you know, he can tank the Bug Bite and you heal off most of the damage, then finish him off next turn. But it ends up backfiring there because Togekiss gets Tailwind off for free. And now he's dealing with a much faster Scizor who can move before Cresselia, which makes this turn much simpler for our inanimate than the previous one was.
At the same time, if that Gastrodon carries Muddy Water, then he could still lose the Scizor, which could be pretty bad if Tyranitar is in the back. But it's definitely a very good position for Randy here.
Yeah, I don't see too much of an out for Phonic Frog here, to be honest. His first turn was really cool, and he did a lot of damage with it, but it just doesn't seem like he really has the Pokemon to finish the job here. And part of you know, getting a big damage advantage like that is you need the Pokemon who can clean it up, and Gastrodon is slow and bad at doing that.
Yeah, Gastrodon's great at walling Pokemon, but and dealing damage after it absorbs a few water type attacks, but not at cleaning up on its own. Scizor goes for the Bug Bite, but it hits the Protect of the Cresselia, and there's everyone's least favorite part of Togekiss, the flinch on Gastrodon after that Air Slash. 60% flinch chance there.
So see, it does have a higher than 50% chance to flinch there. So it's not like you get lucky to get the flinch there. It's more like you would have gotten unlucky if you didn't. But I'd wondered if Cresselia had Protect there, like I mentioned before. And while I would normally expect it not to, because the Explosion Metagross is in the team, I wouldn't have been surprised if it did. And there it is. So smart Protect by Kamal there, but Togekiss just doesn't want to work with him here.
Yeah, Togekiss has caused a lot of, let's go with frustration for a bunch of different players. And that's exactly why. I mean, the Follow Me, the Tailwind, the flinches from those Air Slashes, definitely not great. Gastrodon trying to protect itself. Follow Me coming out from Togekiss, not going to take any single target damage there. And of course, the Scizor going for the Bug Bite onto Cresselia, +2, same type attack bonus, and super effective on this offensive Cresselia, an easy one-hit KO. And Randy in such a good position with just his leads out right now.
Yeah, I mean, a little frustrating if you're Kamal here. The shoe's on the other foot now. It's a pretty clean victory for the other side. Assuming that we're right about Tyranitar being scarfed, which was implied before, but I don't think we actually saw definitive proof of it. Tyranitar will go down in one shot here, and Gastrodon will be left to fight the entire team of Arnanimate on his own.
Yeah, so if this Tyranitar is holding a Choice Scarf, it gets the speed boost, 1 level, but it also gets locked into the 1 attack. And with Togekiss's Tailwind still up, it's going to be slower than that Scizor and that Togekiss. So even with the Choice Scarf, it's not getting much of anything. Getting a whole lot of nothing here. Togekiss with the Follow Me, doesn't want Scizor taking any damage. Here comes the Bug Bite. That's also going to be an easy one-hit KO there. So strong. Tyranitar is out, and Gastrodon trying to recover off that small little bit of Air Slash damage it took. Definitely going to be what keeps that in the game. That recover Gastrodon is going to bring Phonic Frog back from this one. Maybe.
Yeah, perhaps he was expecting a Gastrodon to be targeted there, but no.
Definitely, Gastrodon definitely not the threat here, especially if it's carrying Earth Power, which would just get Follow Me'd by Togekiss, which I have to assume it does since it didn't use Muddy Water at any time to try and get that KO on the Scizor. But definitely a clean win for Randy at the top screen. The mirror image of last game. Except Randy didn't have to switch. Phonic Frog had to switch last game. Clearly not.
No, it makes his win count for less. So.
Yeah. Oh, and some really good information there for our inanimate getting the Rindo, but Gastrodon also avoids the air slash. For everyone who's worried about air slash flinching you to death, it's only 95% accurate. You have a 5% chance to not even get hit by it.
So Gastrodon doing his part to make Phonic Frog look better there.
Yeah,
he avoids the 4-0.
Man-moding really hard there. Loses its Rindo Berry, but kills one of our inanimate's Pokemon and gets the 3-0 instead of the 4-0. Very, very strong play from Phonic Frog's Gastrodon there. MVP of this match for sure.
Yeah, should I try its hardest, but sadly, it's not looking good.
And here comes the Draco Meteor. Just a little bit overkill there. Takes out the Gastrodon. And our inanimate takes a win at 3-0 and brings us to 1-1, and we're going to Game 3.
Yeah, we'll be recovering off that one. But Game 3 should be interesting now. I mean, it's rare you see a best of 3 where I guess it's not uncommon to go to a third game, but it's certainly uncommon, as you might assume, for one side to win Game 1 so hard and the other to win Game 2 so hard. Like usually, if you win that convincingly, it's because you're a much better player or have a much better team matchup. But this one's been exciting. 2 blowouts in opposite directions. I think that 6-1 or Phonic Frog. He changed his name on us. Phonic Frog put a lot into the explosion gimmick working out there, and he wasn't. Even though he hit it perfectly, it's like he exploded into Protects or anything, but he wasn't quite able to follow up on it because of the Swords Dance he allowed Randy to get off.
The Swords Dance hurt.
I would expect him to go back to a more conservative group of Pokemon on his side for Game 3, more similar to what he did Game 1. Whereas Randy will probably do something more similar to what he did last game, because losing 4-0 again is probably not his plan for getting out of this round.
And I really like that explosion first turn. I think it was a good effort on Kamal's part, but Togekiss is just surprisingly bulky. It's basically the takeaway of that. And that's one of the main reasons why you use Togekiss. I mean, it got down to red. It was at a sliver of health, but then the Citrus Berry activated and healed it back up. Gave it 25% more HP, which just allowed it to be there and just completely annoy Kamal or Phonic Frog to death there, because it was still around to Tailwind. It was still around to follow me away a potential hidden power fire from the Cresselia. Very close there, and I think if there was just a little bit fewer defense investment in Randy's Togekiss, that would have worked out very well for Kamal. Or possibly even a better roll there.
Yeah. Yeah, while we're between games here, we do have a few of the other matches in the tournament going on. Sabaku beat Cams in the play-in round, but then was defeated by Ben 7000 in the first major round of the tournament to move on to the semifinals. And Cybertron beat Benji the Great in his quarterfinal matchup. So both of them have moved on to play against each other in the semifinals, which I assume will be the next match we have on stream.
It's going to be a great match there.
And then the other play-in match on the other side of the bracket, Corey has beaten Jacob, so he'll move on to play against Zach in that quarterfinal matchup, and the winner of Zach and Corey will play against the winner of this match, which will take place off stream. But the winner will move on to the finals and have exciting TV moments again.
Everyone wants to be on TV. We got this when there were actually TVs at Regional too. So we're back in team preview for Game 3 of this pretty exciting series. I'm very impressed by the play of both these players. I mean, I'm not surprised by it, but I'm still impressed by it. As you can see on your screen, our Inanimates team of Politoed, Kingdra, Togekiss, Rhydon, Scizor, and Salamence up against Phonic Frogs, Cresselia, Metagross, Excadrill, Tyranitar, Yanmega, and Gastrodon. Given that both games were lopsided, do you expect Kamal to go back to his first game and Randy to stick with what he had last game? And how do you think those two teams match up against each other?
I still like Kamal's matchup a little bit more, but I think it'll just come down to who can get that first KO. It won't be as easy for Kamal to get kills as he did in game one, with Randy knowing what he does about Kamal's team now. So I'd expect there to be more switching around and this game to go several more turns than game 1 or 2 did. But I think if Kamal goes back to doing what he did in the first game, he'll probably come out on top. I doubt that we'll see Metagross again. He's shown what he's doing now, and while the threat of explosion every turn is really frustrating to play against because you have to be very conservative, because that protect and explosion can come at any time. It's a lot less powerful once your opponent knows it's there, and I don't know. It's a great way to win game 2 of a best of 3, especially when you have a lead like that, where you can afford to take that risk because at worst you're coming out 1-1. I think it was a great strategy by Kamal there, but this time it didn't pay off. So I'd expect him to use the other 4 Pokemon. I love Yanmega, and if Kamal survives this round, I'd love to see what it can do. But I don't think that this is going to be the matchup for it. So I'd expect Kamal to go back to his other 4 Pokemon. And while we didn't see 2 of Randy's that time, I wouldn't be very surprised, or I would expect it to be Togekiss, Scissor, and the 2 Rain Pokemon again. But I guess we shall see. Looks like Evan's having some internet difficulties, so I'm on my own for a second. But we see Randy sending out his Pokemon here. We see Togekiss and a Rhydon for the first time now against Excadrill and Gastrodon. This is actually one situation in doubles where things might not look as good as they normally would. Togekiss's Follow Me lets it redirect a lot of attacks away from its partners, but Earthquake is not one of those moves. Excadrill obviously could have a Drill Run or it could have Earthquake. And if it's Drill Run, Togekiss can protect Rhydon, but otherwise, nothing Togekiss can do other than getting a Clutch Air Slash Flinch will be able to protect Rhydon from it. So 2 Pokemon with super effective attacks that Rhydon has to worry about on Kamal's side here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Randy try to get Tailwind up early here, since Togekiss isn't in too much danger here, and having the speed advantage would make this a lot easier for him to play out. So both players are going to take some time to figure out what they want to do this round. So it's the definitive game 3, so got to be careful. Don't want to blow it in front of hundreds of viewers, right? See the substitute from Excadrill here. And the Earthquake from Rhydon. So pretty quick Rhydon there if it's faster than Gastrodon. And I managed to break that substitute and get some good damage off on Gastrodon here. We do see an Ice Beam from Gastrodon, so perhaps he was expecting a Protect and Tailwind also, which, as I implied, is kind of what I was thinking would happen there, but sadly not too much damage in Togekiss there.
Like I mentioned before, Togekiss is a surprisingly bulky Pokemon, so able to tank that pretty easily, especially even with the Follow Me. One of the major reasons why it's a Follow Me user, just because it can tank so much free damage from its opponents. But yeah, I agree with you. I was also expecting when I was able to get back in, because DC Internet is apparently the worst thing ever. I was also expecting that Protect Tailwind when I saw the leads, but smart play by Phonic Frog, but he was just read by Arn Animate pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm curious by the fact that we saw substitute there instead of Earthquake. Or I'm curious what ground move Phonic Frog's running. I know in the past he has used Drill Run, so if he has that right now, this is a really inconvenient matchup for him. But I guess we'll see.
Considering his team only has 2 Levitators, I would be it would be kind of risky for him to run Earthquake, but everything does also contain Protect because of that explosion. Because of that explosion on Metagross as well. So it could go either way, but you're definitely right. If Kamal's running Drill Run, he's in a very tight spot right now. Because that Rhydon is surprisingly effective in this matchup.
Yeah, Rhydon, as you guys might imagine, is not one of the more popular Pokemon in VGC. Neither it or Rhyperior. But so it's cool to see it doing well here. It's definitely the most intimidating Pokemon in the field right now, which is not something we can say very often, but it's something I wish I could say more because Rhydon is an awesome Pokemon.
I mean, it's one of those things we don't. Rhydon, of course, one of the original 151 Pokemon. I grew up on Rhydon, although I used Golem. But we don't see them as much in play. The original 151, they weren't necessarily designed for competitive play. We'll put it that way. If anyone's ever played competitive Red, Blue, and Yellow, you know exactly what I mean there. But Rhydon definitely getting some buffs with the Eviolite, and the Lightning Rod ability makes it much more useful in doubles play. And Phonic Frog, typical Phonic Frog, taking his sweet time to decide. In actual VGC play, you only get 1 minute to decide what move you're going to choose. But as we do not have the capabilities to install timers, Phonic Frog is taking as much time as he needs to figure out his way out of this sticky situation here. Right, and Gastrodon, going with the Protect, definitely does not want to take any more free damage. And the Earthquake from Excadrill, much better than the Drill Run in this case. And the Ground Gym, too, definitely going to deal a lot of damage to that Rhydon. Of
course, the other reason why Earthquake couldn't have been being used before is because he didn't want to hurt his partner rather than because he didn't have it. So perhaps that gamble didn't pay off.
Speaking of Earthquakes, Rhydon's going to go ahead and fire off one of his own because Togekiss is a flying-type Pokemon and it's not going to take any damage at all. And unlike Excadrill's Ground Gym boosted Earthquake, Rhydon's actually KOs. It's the free KO on that Excadrill, and Rhydon took some damage there, but he's still looking pretty strong here. I've got to imagine that a combination of Air Slash plus another Earth going to deal close to enough damage to KO there. Know that calc off the top of my head, but seems like it would be pretty close there.
Yeah, I feel like it is really close, actually, just trying to eyeball damage from the last 2 games. But one of the nice things about Rhydon, and most rock types in general, they're very strong physically, defensively. So get that monster defense stat, taking those Earthquakes like it's no thing, firing them back.
Especially holding on to that Eviolite, one of the new items that boosts the base defense and special defense of unevolved Pokemon, of course, Rhydon. Only the second stage and a stage of 3, as it turns out. But this offensive Cresselia hitting on the special side is going to go ahead and threaten that Rhydon, yes, almost said Rhyperior. Especially if it's carrying an Energy Ball or a Grass Knot, as some are wont to do.
Yeah, I'd kind of expect
an
Icy Wind here. Yeah, we have. It's Icy Wind, Psyshock, Hidden Power Fire, and Protect, so... It will be Icy Wind here if it chooses to try to hurt Rhydon. Psyshock would do a little bit more to Togekiss if he wants to go that route instead.
And he definitely does go with the Icy Wind, going to get slowed down on both Togekiss and Rhydon. Deal some significant damage, but not enough to KO that Rhydon, who gets a Tailwind from Togekiss. Not going to try and protect it there since it expects to get double targeted anyway. The Mega Horn onto Cresselia. That Bug-type attack, one of the newer attacks that Rhydon gets, dealing a healthy amount of damage there as Gastrodon just recovers off the Earthquake damage earlier. And now we have a +1 Togekiss and a +1 Rhydon going up against the Cresselia and the Gastrodon.
Yeah, Rhydon showing off its bulk there. I was kind of wondering how much Icy Wind would do, just because even though it's got the Violet, it is pretty terrible, especially on both the defensive and offensive side. So was curious if that would pick it off, but no. Raiden is not fooling around.
Yeah,
battling to do.
Icy Wind, low base power to begin with, plus the damage reduction from being split, even with an expert belt and some special attack investment, not going to be dealing a whole lot of damage, even though it was super effective against this bulky Rhydon. And I would be surprised. Yeah, Cresselia going to go ahead and protect. Doesn't want to risk Rhydon being fast enough to Mega Hornet in the face. Ooh, or take that Air Slash, which it protects off. Cresselia protecting the Rock Slide from Rhydon. Gonna hope for that flinch on the Gastrodon, or else it's just gonna get Ice Beamed. Oh, and it gets it! Rock Slide is the best move in the game. Bar none.
Kamal's Rhydon, it's living right here. Low health, it doesn't care. It's gonna flinch you.
Yeah, Randy definitely raised that Rhydon with love and care, because that Rhydon is doing so much work against Kamal Phonic Frog's team right now.
Yeah, I'd say
it's not even funny.
I'd say it's been training under waterfalls. I would probably not suggest doing that. And while here, in the stream, we would very much like you to donate to help get clean water. Please don't pour it on your Rhydon. That'd be a really poor decision, and Rhydon would be hurt. So,
I'm pretty sure that's how Ash beat Onyx in his first gym. But Cresselia going for the double protect gets it. It's a 50% chance there. Avoids the Air Slash and another Rock Slide on Gastrodon. Not getting the flinch this time. Not quite lucky enough. It's the Ice Beam on Rhydon, and Rhydon finally goes down. Iced out of this battle.
Yeah, I mean, often when you see the double protect like that, players get a little flustered that they didn't win the coin flip. But I have to feel like probably we ended up in the spot we should have ended up after the previous turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty good trade-off there. Scizor comes out, and it's, of course, now at +2 with the last turn of Tailwind up. Cresselia is not going to enjoy that. I mean, even if Tailwind goes down, you still have the Follow Me from Togekiss, and this Scizor looking to clean up the pieces here of this Cresselia Gastrodon combo.
As we saw in the first game, too, there's a threat of Swords Dance from Scizor, so even though it could kill Cresselia here, he can't play as though it's going to, because he doesn't want to give up that free Swords Dance and get swept again.
Yeah, definitely have to try to get rid of that Scizor. But I don't see a way that Randy can that Kamal can at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd have to catch it Swords Dancing and get off that Hidden Power Fire while avoiding the flinch.
Cresselia fails the triple protect. The luck is not on Kamal's side, and the Bug Bite does get the KO on Cresselia in the last turn of Tailwind, which meant it was able to go before it. If he was able to get that protect, it would have been a little bit trickier. But Gastrodon eating an Air Slash and flinching, Randy is having none of this as his Tailwind peters out.
This Gastrodon was pretty clutch last game with that avoid in the Ice Beam kill to avoid the 4-0, but apparently Gastrodon wasted all of its clutch in a losing game, and now there's none left.
Out comes the Tyranitar, which actually could still be a threat if it carries Fire Punch. But again, that's a single target attack. And Togekiss, more than proving its worth with that Follow Me, and that would ensure at least 2 turns for Scizor, in which case Scizor could get 2 Bullet Punches off, or just 1 Bug Bite. Really, really good play by Randy here, and I'm not sure how Kamal gets out of this one.
Yeah, once again, a tough spot for him. This Scizor Togekiss combination just seems to wreak havoc on his team.
Yeah, when we think of doubles play, historically we've thought of some combinations like Top Ogre from 2010, that was Hitmontop and Kyogre, very popular. Top Moth, Hitmontop, and Volcarona, which we might see a little bit later from last year. Cresselia and anything, but Togekiss and Scizor are not common components that we see frequently. Scizor going to go ahead and protect just in case. So does the Togekiss, just to see what that Tyranitar is going to use. It's going to use Rock Slide, hoping for some flinches of his own as Gastrodon recovers off some of that damage.
Yeah, pretty good turn for Kamal. I mean, Randy trades getting information about what move the Tyranitar is locked into for letting Gastrodon heal back to full, which isn't information, Randy or Kamal wanted to cough up, but I'll take a hyper potion. It works for like the Elite Four and stuff, so why wouldn't it work in VGC?
Yeah, if they get to use items, why can't we? Maybe we should have played with Wonder Launcher on instead. Who knows?
Well, speaking of items, Togekiss gets to eat its berry too, with the sand taking it down below that threshold.
Yeah, so both teams getting some getting their heal on there. Tyranitar, of course, locked into Rock Slide now. Gonna have to hope for some flinches. Gonna deal some decent damage to the Togekiss. And a little bit of damage to that Scizor, but really just needs to get some flinches off onto that Scizor and hope that Gastrodon can deal enough damage to follow up on the little chip damage from Rock Slide there.
I was going to say before, while Scizor Togekiss isn't exactly the most common, Randy is known for using that priority Pokemon next to Togekiss, so rather than Bisharp or, as we've seen from some people, Breloom, it's Scizor this time. Apparently you can just throw in whoever you want there. Any priority mood. I mean, we've seen Mamoswine from Sajin Park and Mr. Fox, so it's like, really just priority Pokemon plus Togekiss. It's the metagame.
Well, I mean, those are all very frail Pokemon with a lot of common weaknesses, mostly to single target attacks, so it makes a lot of sense. Except for, I guess, Heat Wave off of Volcarona or something like that. Randy not going to let him get the chance to try and Rock Slide, cheese him out of this. Goes for the Bullet Punch with the Steel Gem and just barely misses the KO there. Looks like 11 HP left on Tyranitar. Rock Slide going to deal some damage to Togekiss. Oh my god, that dealt so much damage to Togekiss. Okay, critical hit on Togekiss. Gets the KO. The best possible result for Kamal there. The Scald onto the Scizor. A lot of damage plus the burn, but the Scald plus burn damage is just not quite enough. Scizor is still going to be able to get that KO with Bullet Punch next turn. But that does leave the Gastrodon in a pretty good position here, with that Focus Sash Salamence coming out.
Yeah, we know obviously Gastrodon has Recover too, so Salamence can't just Draco Meteor the Gastrodon willy-nilly here, or it's just going to get recovered off and it's going to have to fight with the lowered special attack.
Plus, if that Gastrodon is able to get an Ice Beam off onto Salamence, then the Sandstorm will chip away at that Focus Sash, making it entirely useless. And Gastrodon trying to protect off here as Tyranitar goes down for free. Do that Bullet Punch. Just trying to get some extra burn damage on that Scizor there. And Salamence is going with the Draco Meteor, really hoping for a critical hit there. As Scizor faints from the burn damage. So Gastrodon versus Salamence. Who will win? And actually, it looks like Kamal is going to be able to pull this one out.
Yeah, barring a critical hit, I don't know what you can do here.
When did that happen? How did that happen? Draco Meteor from Salamence going on to that Gastrodon. Let's see how far the health bar drops. Not even close to enough. The Ice Beam from Gastrodon, 4 times super effective. Kamal, Phonic Frog Harris, pulls this one out by the skin of his teeth. 4-0, 3-0, and then 1-0 in Game 3. Really impressive showing there. Just barely takes that win. That crit on Togekiss, dealing just enough so that he could buy some time there and get the burn onto Scizor so he could stall that one out too. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Pokemon both ways there. I mean, that's the most Pokemon of Pokemon matches, right? I mean, I think in all types of Pokemon, this is something we can all relate to, Doesn't matter if you're playing in-game against gym leaders, you're playing competitively here, trying to catch a Pokemon, whatever you don't want them to appear, crits and flinches. And that game, there it was. Like big crits one way, flinches back the other way.
Yeah, Murphy's Law of Pokemon.
A crit to close the game. Just the most Pokemon of Pokemon mechanics.
But congratulations to Kamal there. Phonic Frog moves on to the next round, where he will go up against our number 1 seed, Zach Droidcamp, who just went 2-0 over Corey Meller in his first round. Of course, next game, by popular demand, we're going to watch the 2-time senior national champion, and just recently, his first Masters win. He finally proved to the doubters, the haters, whoever they could be, that he was not fully washed up. Aaron Cybertron Zhang going up against Benjamin 7000, who defeated Aaron the last time they faced in Apex Finals. So this should be a pretty impressive matchup here, too.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because you remember they faced off again at the regional that Aaron won, where Aaron came out on top. So.
Oh, did they play each other in
Yes.
Massachusetts?
Yes, they were the finals there. So Aaron did win the rematch with the power of Korean teams. So the rivalry is renewed.
1-1, and this will be the deciding match. Who gets to take home the glory of bragging rights?
Yeah, for those of you who didn't watch Apex, they played about 7,000 times there because in the infinite wisdom of a double elimination tournament, I think it was Ben came up from the losers bracket.
Yeah, Ben came up from the losers bracket.
After losing, I think he did Aaron send him to the losers bracket? I guess you know. Okay, so Ben sent Aaron to the losers bracket, and then, or you know what I mean. Aaron sent Ben to the losers bracket, and then Ben battled back up and fought Aaron in about 70 games of best of 3 to close the night out there, and what seemed like the longest Pokemon marathon I've ever seen. And then again, they fought each other.
Seen.
Yeah. At least I didn't have to cast it, right?
Yeah.
And then they battled again in Massachusetts 2 weekends ago. So 2 really good players who always seem to have to wind up against each other. 2 really good guys, too. So this should be fun. I think one thing that's worth pointing out, too, I was looking at our bracket. And we've got the 1 seed versus the 4 seed and the 2 seed versus the 3 seed. All the players who entered our tournament today have won regionals this year, but we did the seeding, as we mentioned before, by championship points, which are kind of like you get points depending on your finishes. So even though they all won 1 tournament, they had different results, and over the 3 tournaments they've competed in, and the Wi-Fi tournaments. So apparently those points do mean something, because the higher seeded player has won every match other than one of the buy-ins.
Yeah, and I mean, I would be completely shocked if we did not see these 4 players in Worlds coming up in August. Yes, August in Vancouver.
Yeah, all 4 of these guys are great. I would extend that to say I'd be surprised if we don't see our 5 seed Aaron Animate, who we just saw in the previous match. I think all 5 of them are pretty safe. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that everyone can make it, and the system that determines our matches prior to the top cut elimination level of our tournaments in real life is not the best. So, I mean, some of them might get unlucky by Pokemon happening or having difficult opponents, but I think they all deserve to be there for sure. These guys really are the best of the best in our game.
And we're seeing Ben 7000's team at the top of our screen. A team I am very familiar with, having played against it and casted it for what felt like 5 hours. Tyranitar, Volcarona, Thundurus Incarnate Form, Latios, Metagross, and Hitmontop. The very same team that he used to crush Aaron at Apex. And also take home the win at Virginia Regional. So this is the regional championship team going up against Cybertron's team. Oh, so kind there. Cresselia, Scizor, Terrakion, Breloom, Leopard, and Thundurus. Did I say Thundurus yet? I
don't
2
think
different. So. Cresselia, Thundurus, Leopard, Terrakion, Scizor, and Breloom. So Cybertron going for the more Korean-style team, and Ben 7000 using what he's proven works in the past.
Yeah, it should be interesting. That's also the team that Aaron won his regional with. So both of them going back to what worked and using teams that they have won tournaments with, which would be interesting in itself because you get to see the teams that work. But both of them won tournaments by beating the other one using those teams. So it's kind of like starting out later in a best of 3, right? I mean, they both know both of these teams really well.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting matchup, and I am actually really excited to watch Cybertron play because, and I feel weird saying that because I've seen so much of Cybertron and his teams that I, at one point, I wanted to see nothing more of them because it was just everywhere. But this new team just is so much fun. Leopard or Leopard? I don't even know how to pronounce that name. I haven't seen it too often, except in Korean games. And Breloom, one of my favorite Pokemon. I know one of my good friend Trista Ryuzaki Medine's favorite Pokemon. And I am really excited to watch these teams bash heads against each other.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Aaron's team too. I used something very similar in the most recent Wi-Fi tournament, just because I had like the team that his is based off of, which is a team by the Korean player Seijin Park, who made it to the top 8 of Worlds last year. So I'd use something more close to Seijin's original, whereas Aaron's has changed a little bit more. But the playstyle of the team is really fun. I mean, there's some gimmicky things like the Liepard is not the most traditional of Pokemon, but it's fun to play and fun to watch, and it should be interesting here. I say Liepard is not the first Pokemon you think about when you think of competitive Pokemon. So always nice to see some of the less naturally bulky and powerful Pokemon finding ways to end up in the competitive scene.
I also enjoy that this is the sort of the New York battle. Both of these two competitors hailing from the Empire State. So we'll actually see who is the best Pokemon trainer from New York, one of the actually strongest Pokemon regions in our circuit right now.
So I know in the chat I saw someone surprised to see Hitmontop, and while he is not one of the more powerful singles Pokemon, Hitmontop is really good in doubles. It has some tricks that aren't very good in singles, but this format make a lot better. Most specifically the move Fake Out, which just has a 100% chance to flinch the target in a +2 priority. And ordinarily that's underwhelming in singles. You just get some chip damage and kind of wasted a move to do it. But in doubles, since you can flinch that target and have your partner attack them too, or just stop a target's action and protect your partner from it. If you're fighting something like, say, a Charizard with your Venusaur, you can flinch that Charizard and stop him from setting your poor plant on fire. So there's a lot of value to it in the VGC format. Hitmontop also gets Intimidate, which is really useful and lowers the attack of both targets. So there's a few things in this rule set that make Hitmontop a lot better than maybe some of you are used to.
It's also got some great utility in the move Wide Guard, which is so good in doubles, as it protects your Pokemon against spread moves that target both of your Pokemon at the same time. And you often see it paired with like the Volcarona, as we are seeing the fabled Top Moth leads here from Ben 7000 on the top of your screen. Hitmontop and Volcarona up against Liepard and Cresselia from Aaron Zhang. Definitely an interesting matchup here. Both Liepard and Hitmontop you have Fake Out at their disposal should they choose to use it. Liepard also, with its Prankster ability, has access to some really fun support moves too that it can just really make Ben's life difficult with.
I mentioned Fake Out before, but like I said, Liepard also a user of that move, and it's quicker than Hitmontop is, which lets Aaron apply some extra pressure here. If it wants to, we can Fake Out the enemy Hitmontop to stop it from using its own Fake Out, though it's not too likely he'll want to do that since Volcarona would love to get a free Bug Buzz off here. Liepard is also a very frail Pokemon, so he has to play real carefully here.
Yeah, Cresselia also Psychic type, very strong against Hitmontop. Pretty good at blocking that, but as you predicted, the Fake Out does stop Volcarona. Hitmontop not going for the Fake Out of its own, just going to eat that Psyshock from Cresselia, and look at that damage! It gets the critical hit and KOs Hitmontop turn 1.
Now, ordinarily, we get some information about Psyshock from Cresselia there. Ordinarily, it does not kill Hitmontop in one shot, unless it's boosted particularly hard. So you learn a lot about the Cresselia if that happens normally. But it always does at least 51% with it. So since it crit, we learned absolutely nothing that turn.
There is absolutely no information from that turn, except that Aaron has a significant advantage. But Metagross coming out, which neither this Liepard nor Cresselia can really do that much to, unless that Cresselia is packing that Hidden Power Fire. And Liepard, as you mentioned, very frail, already got its Fake Out, Trick Out, and probably not able to use any of its other support moves this turn.
So we don't want to make too many assumptions about Aaron's team because, obviously he's allowed to change it. But at least at regionals rather, and on the original team that Seiji made, this is an offensive Cresselia that does carry hidden power fire. So Metagross is not completely safe here, but with Volcarona on the other side, now free to attack without fear of fake out. Bug Buzz will likely be coming at one of Liepard and Cresselia to do pretty significant damage. Metagross also not safe from Liepard, since it's almost certainly carrying Foul Play, which does damage based on your target's attack stat rather than your own. So even though Liepard is frail and puny, I can use Metagross's big, strong steel arms and bash its head in a little bit.
And there it is, Foul Play from the Liepard, using the Dark Gem, that one-turn boost, 50% boost of the power of its Foul Play onto Metagross. Look how much damage that dealt! Over half of its HP from a Liepard. Volcarona getting the Quiver Dance off, though. +1 special attack, +1 special defense, +1 speed. But does eat a Psyshock for its troubles.
So Aaron may regret that. So he had the chance to Hidden Power Fire and try to finish Metagross off there, but elects not to do it. And Metagross fires off of that Iron Head and kills Liepard. Perhaps a bit of a mistake for Aaron, as he's staring down the +1/+1/+1 Volcarona there. Whereas before, if he'd kept Liepard alive by hidden powering that Metagross, he could have threatened it with Prankster Encore to at least force it to protect for a turn. But now, there's nothing holding it back.
There is this Terrakion coming out, though, whose rock type is 4 times super effective against that Volcarona. And if it's holding an item like a Choice Scarf, then it could go before this +1 Volcarona. But if not, that Cresselia is definitely going to be taking some damage unless it switches out. In which case, that Metagross is going to have free reign against the Terrakion itself.
Ben will likely know from their match in regionals that, at least at regionals, the Terrakion was holding Fight Gem. I could easily kill either a Volcarona or Metagross here, assuming it doesn't, or isn't killed before it moves somehow. But Ben will have to make a careful decision here about which of the two it wants to target, because either of them could protect or switch here. And he really doesn't want to take any unnecessary damage with where this game's at.
Yeah, definitely. And Terrakion is one of those Pokemon that sort of fell out of favor in this and last year after being the most dominant force in 2011, but always happy to see it back. That +1 Bug Buzz from Volcarona going to go ahead and target that Cresselia, dealing a lot of damage there. Gets the one-hit KO on that offensive Cresselia there. I've seen way too much damage into Cresselias, and it feels weird to me, because Cresselia shouldn't be taking that much damage in my mind. Slide from Terrakion, gets the Charty Berry from Volcarona, weakening that damage, having it, but it's still 2 times super effective and still gets the KO. And of course, Metagross gets the KO back. Sorry, I had to refresh my stream there for a second. Very complicated procedures here for streaming Nintendo Wi-Fi. Aaron using one of his classic trademark Pokemon, Scizor. He was the one who brought Swords Dance Scizor into the fray by winning Seniors National Championships last year with it. So definitely one of his trademark Pokemon there. Tyranitar comes out for Ben, and Scizor, unless that Tyranitar is packing a Fire-type attack, looking pretty good.
Yeah, definitely has a fighting chance of coming out of this with a win, even though it's 1v2. I would see Rock Slide from Tyranitar, and it's moving before Metagross, so Aaron does learn, or perhaps is reminded, that Tyranitar likely holding a Choice Scarf.
Yeah, and a Rock Slide plus an Iron Head, definitely going for some flinches on Cybertron. Looks like Ben has decided that there is only one way he gets out of this one, and it's with flinches. Of course, if that Scizor has Bullet Punch, he'll be able to avoid that entirely, but Tyranitar has the Protect, so definitely not Choice Scarfed.
Yeah, just quick. And Aaron does fall for that and tries to get for the Bullet Punch there to move before the potential flinch comes in, and instead just takes some free damage from Iron Head.
Really good play there by Ben just to get a little bit of free damage on that Scizor. Whether or not it'll be enough remains to be seen, depending on the speed of that Scizor, but definitely good play there. Scizor still going with the Bullet Punch so he gets some damage in before he gets targeted. With that Steel Gem, going to boost it up.
Same. I know Ben often runs the max speed Focus Sash Tyranitar, though I guess we're not going to find out if it is or if it isn't there because it manages to survive on its own.
And then Scizor, of course, because this is Pokemon, avoids the Rock Slide. But look at that damage from Metagross with that Iron Head. I think that Metagross still pulls this one out.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Scizor, it's been hit by Iron Head twice here, and it's at below a third of its health. So the odds of surviving a third are not very high.
Oh, and Aaron hoping that Ben would be foolish enough to protect with Tyranitar and Bug, so he could get a free Bug Bite off on Metagross. Not to be. Tyranitar shows superpower, gets the KO, and Ben 7000 takes a 1-0 lead. Great match.
Yeah, I mean, when two players know each other's teams as well as these two do, each turn is that much more difficult to predict because there's that extra level of prediction. Usually in Pokemon, it's kind of a simple, well, I think my opponent might, expect me to do this, so I'll do that. But there's a few levels farther on that when you've played the same teams and the same opponent using it so many times. Where you're worried your opponent's going to expect you to, be 3 steps ahead and see their move and your move after that, and maybe they're after that. And
of course, he knows that I know that I know that he knows that I know that he knows this. So of course he would do this. But yeah, definitely one of the hardest parts of playing competitive Pokemon. It's where you separate the good trainers from the best trainers. People who can accurately predict what their opponent's going to do, and the people who make the statistically best move possible every turn.
Guess while we're between games here, once again, remind you, this is a charity stream.
We are raising money for clean water in Africa. Go ahead and scroll a little bit down on your screen. Big old donation button there. Click to donate there. We have raised $15 since we started. Casey LaMarche, thanks so much for that. Go ahead and just donate there for clean water in Africa. Great cause. I'm really happy to be a part of it. And I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. On your screen, you see Ben's 7000 team again. That's Tyranitar, Volcarona, Thundurus Incarnate form, Latios, Metagross, and Hitmontop. Up against Aaron, Cybertron Zang at the bottom of your screen later. He's got Cresselia, Scizor, Terrakion, Breloom, Liepard, and Thundurus of his own. Game 2, Ben just sort of eked that one out. What do you do if you're Aaron Zang?
I mean, I don't even know. I think they've played these matchups enough times where they could pick the same 4 Pokemon about 5 times in a row, and we get very different games every time just because they've got quite a few options they can make with the moves, and there's so many moves where as they're just trying to predict each other's predictions. Like, I'm sure Aaron expected that Volcarona wouldn't Quiver Dance in front of his Liepard last game in fear of the Encore, but it did so and got away with it because Metagross picked up that kill for him. So I would expect that there'll be a lot more turns like that one in the future games. Like, they can pick the same Pokemon probably, and the game will just come down to whichever of them are making the better predictions. I don't know if there's a whole lot matchup-wise they can do to improve where they're at. Ben's using a slightly different team than he used at Regionals, where I know he had Rotom W, and I forget what other changes he'd made. So they haven't played this matchup out, at least in a CP event, but they've played these matches, at least similar enough ones enough that, I don't know. At this point, just got to make the decisions. It's not really team preview winning or losing these.
Yeah, which is a big difference from the last game we saw, which was all about Weather Wars, Tyranitar versus Politoed, making sure that you had your strategy working better than the opponent's. This is more about just turn by turn who gets the advantage and who keeps the advantage. We're going into battle now. At the top of your screen, you're going to see Ben 7000, and at the bottom of your screen, 2-time national champion in the seniors division, Aaron Cybertron Zang. Ben 7000 says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, leads Hitmontop and Volcarona once again. Definitely a strong lead. Maybe doesn't think that Cresselia could actually get the KO off if it needed to because of that crit. Goes up against Liepard and Terrakion, which is great for Ben. He gets to intimidate off on Terrakion, which is going to make it a lot less scary.
Yeah, actually, when I was running a team similar to what Aaron is right now, if I was expecting the Hitmontop Volcarona lead, I led exactly what he is here. Even though Liepard Terrakion doesn't have a lot of obvious synergy, I guess, Obviously, Terrakion is a full stop to Volcarona as long as it can avoid rock sliding into wide guards. And this Terrakion does have some tricks to help itself get turns to avoid doing that. And at least that pressure Terrakion applies to Volcarona, as well as the pressure applied by Liepard threatening the faster fake out on Hitmontop, puts him in a pretty good spot here.
I'm curious, even if you expect that Hitmontop might carry wide guard, you still feel good about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways you can get out of it. I mean, turn one, you can always just fake out and rock slide if he wants. If Volcarona protects, he's got the Encore option. Terrakion could also be carrying Substitute, which I know Ben knows that Aaron was at Regionals. So that's an option too. And it makes this turn harder to play for Ben because he's less likely to just play a conservative turn here and let Terrakion get the Substitute up for free.
And we do see the fake out off on Hitmontop, blocking possibly a wide guard as the Rock Slide comes in. -1 plus the Chardy only deals a little bit over half damage there, but does get the flinch. Not going for the wide guard because he didn't flinch beforehand, but both Pokemon flinching. Only one of those confirmed. Really, really tough break for Ben there.
Yeah, the Intimidate Chardy combo is a pretty good way to stop this sort of thing, except when the flinch happens. I think it's like a 27% chance, but happens there.
Well, this is the game we play. We saw that in the defining match of Phonic Frog versus our Inanimate there. And then this first turn flinch onto that Volcarona, definitely leaving Ben in a really tough place here now. Especially if that Hitmontop is carrying close combat, as most Hitmontop usually does. It hits both of those super effectively. And we already saw the Dark Gem on the Liepard, and if that Terrakion is holding a Fight Gem again, a KO on both of those.
There's kind of some awkwardness here. Obviously, Volcarona is the threat for Aaron. He doesn't have a whole lot of Pokemon who deal with it well, so he really needs to get it off the field. But he also doesn't want to leave himself defenseless against this Hitmontop, who would love nothing more than to close combat all of his friends. So, another one of those turns where either side could get an advantage depending on whether or not they make the right guess. And expect we'll see a lot of that in this series.
Terrakion is not having any of anything. Just going to go ahead and for the close combat, even at -1 attack, the Fighting Gem going to boost that a little bit onto that Hitmontop, dealing a lot of damage, a lot more than I expected at -1. But I guess that Fight Gem from Terrakion's already a massive base attack, pretty good. The Citrus Berry coming out from Hitmontop going to recover off a lot of that damage. Going to possibly save it from this Liepard's foul play. Dark Gem, of course, strengthening that, using Hitmontop's own strength against it, and yes, it survives. The play there by Ben, knows that calculation, managed to survive that. It's the Bug Buzz Liepard, one-hit KO, and possibly a close combat here on this Terrakion now. Yeah, here it comes. Close combat, same type attack bonus. Super effective onto Terrakion. It goes all the way down, and that's another KO. Ben gets 2 kills for 0 there.
Ben's items are doing a lot of work there. The first turn, Volcarona survives because it's holding the Chardy Berry. And then the second turn, Hitmontop survives because of the Citrus Berry. I guess items tend to be hit or miss, where sometimes they'll be huge and sometimes they'll be hugely irrelevant. But big plays by Ben's items there.
And Citrus Berry on Hitmontop's not something we normally see, but I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm going to talk about Breloom, because Breloom is one of my favorite Pokemon, and we haven't seen it enough, I think, in VGC play. Unfortunately, it's going up against a Volcarona, so it's not going to have a really great time here, but Breloom, super cool. How do you feel about Breloom, Scott?
I think it's pretty much taking over the metagame. I know Breloom's kind of a weird Pokemon, especially for the non-VGC folk, to imagine as one of the powerhouses in the metagame. But I'd say after Tyranitar, Metagross, and Cresselia, it'll probably be the next most common Pokemon at Nationals. A lot of people have started shifting to it, and I think either by using it or countering it, it'll be one of the major factors in most people's team building. Spore's really strong, Priority, Technician Mach Punch is really strong, Technician Bullet Punch is really strong, and we see that Mach Punch right here.
Yeah, that Mach Punch going to go ahead and get the KO off on Hitmontop. Ben, predicting that, gets the helping hand off onto his Volcarona, targeting the Cresselia, worried about that damage output from the offensive Cresselia. Doesn't have to worry about it anymore because that helping hand boosted Bug Buzz. Same type attack bonus, super effective, plus 50% from that helping hand. easy one-hit KO on Cresselia, and I can't believe I'm seeing Cresselia's getting one-hit KO'd. What is happening to this metagame?
Yeah, I mean, the world champion Ray Rizzo hates offensive Cresselia, and this is exactly why. One of the great parts of normal Cresselia is it's bulky, it's tough to kill. You know, you can leave it out there for 77 turns, and it's never going to die. But these Cresselias can barely make it 1 turns, and you know, while you get a lot more offensive power off of the offensive version, it comes at a cost, as you can see here, as the Cresselias are dropping left and right like they're Yanmegas or something.
Yeah, now it's Breloom versus the world. Not a very good matchup for Breloom. I mean, Tyranitar doesn't want to go up against Breloom, but it does not want to fight a Volcarona ever. Interested that Ben went for the Heat Wave there. Definitely the stronger option, but also has the risk of missing there. Gotta feel like a Bug Buzz is much better in this case.
Yeah, I mean, interesting choice, but I can't imagine it'll make too big of a difference. Aaron, you know, he's like face palming with his camera or something, but it's recovered. Worry not.
Breloom, worried about Tyranitar for whatever reason, gets the Mach Punch off onto it. But of course, like you mentioned, been a big fan of that fast Focus Sash Tyranitar, isn't going to make a difference. And of course, Breloom is not good enough to avoid this Heat Wave. Going to eat it for its full amount of damage, only hitting 1 Pokemon and a critical hit. That's more than enough to take out that Breloom, and good game. Ben 7000 moves on.
A pretty convincing win for Ben there. I kind of went back to his roots with his older team, and it pays off for him there. Wins 1 over his recent rival.
Yep, and Ben definitely taking the advantage. Lost to him at Massachusetts, but beat him at Apex, and now beats him in the semifinals of this exhibition tournament. Very strong, very good plays by Ben. Moves on to the next round, where he will play the winner of Zach versus Kamal. Definitely going to be a great game there.
Yeah, so 2 players who I don't think I've ever faced off, but they tend to be in the same regional region. So I always expect it to happen in the top cut, and it never seems to.
This is actually, I really like how our bracket broke down here, because we have Zach versus Kamal in the top of the bracket, and Ben versus Aaron at the bottom. Zach and Kamal, of course, playing in the Midwest region, which has emerged as one of the strongest Pokemon regions. The Wisconsin regionals, the Indiana regionals, the St. Louis regionals, all very strong. Zach and Phonic Frog both being fixtures at those events. And then at the bottom half of our bracket, Ben 7000, Cybertron, both from New York, the Northeast, which has so many strong trainers. You see the Massachusetts regionals, you see the Pennsylvania regionals being some of the strongest regionals in the country. Definitely, you know, we're going to have Midwest versus Northeast for sort of which is the better Pokemon region here.
Yeah, speaking of the regional thing, I think it's worth noting, the Midwest tends to be, they have a lot of strong players on top, but the depth isn't quite there. So it's probably a little easier for players to rack up points in the Midwest. So speaking of the Indiana regional, 3 of the final 4 of the Indiana regional are currently the top 3 players in overall CP right now. Even though all of them traveled out of the Midwest for one regional. Zach obviously is number 1 overall by about 1 million points, having played 2 of the Midwestern regionals and 1 in Florida. I'm second with 2 Midwestern regionals and 1 in Georgia. And then Steven is third with 2 Midwestern regionals and 1 in California. So we travel well.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of the big stories of the past 2 years when we have more regionals now. The Midwest never had regionals before. They just had nationals. But now that we have regionals showing up in the Midwest, pretty great that that we're seeing the Midwest really come to the fore as one of the strongest regions in Pokemon. Real quick, we have 3 more people who have donated to the Charity Water cause. Thank you so much, guys. Tom Hull, the Great, that was a great donation. Glad that you think this is a great cause. All of those, imagine I'm saying them GR8, just because that's how he spells his name. Shin J Nader also donated. He will be up next, I believe, on the stream after we finish off this Tournament of Champions. And Matt Saveldon, Bears fan, the Philadelphia regional champion, who, for whatever reason, decided he didn't want to risk his own pride in this this invitational exhibition, sends out a shout out to Ben Rothman, Ben 7000, who just took that win there.
Yeah, I
Not sure
can't
what
help
he's
but
doing
notice.
donating if he's not playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I could have sworn he was busy this weekend.
I don't
but,
know.
he's been talking in the Twitch chat. I mean, I guess I'm glad he's donating money, but looks like he made it all right after all. A little scared there. I mean, if Bears, if you need a paper bag to wear over your head at nationals, so you don't want anyone to watch your games, I will help you out. I've got lots of paper bags, and willing to help you out. We're waiting for the other semifinal to finish up, so that we can move on to the final match of this exhibition tournament. 616 or Phonic Frog and Zach are facing off in an epic battle, I'm sure. But I wish they'd think a little bit less and move a little bit faster. But that should be on soon.
Zach
in the meantime,
first game.
So in the meantime, I'm sure you're sick of Evan's great puns, but if you donate money, I'll make him stop. Or
I haven't punned
he can
at all
make
this,
more.
this cast. Come on.
That's your thing.
I would like to see a competition. If you would like to see puns, donate for puns. You can leave a little message there. Click that little donation page right underneath, and I will give you some high quality puns, because apparently that's what people like in streams. I had no idea. And if you would not like to, go ahead and click on that donation page anyway and say you would not like to hear me pun, because you hate fun and you just are humorless and sad, I guess is all it is. But yeah, definitely.
Is, usually how I would describe Evan, but
oof, I feel hurt and abused by that. This is what I put up with. Go ahead and click on that donation page right underneath our stream there. Go ahead and donate to this worthy cause. Get clean water. I mean, we take it for granted. Like, I have a glass of water next to me because my throat gets scratchy when we cast, but you've really got, I take it for granted sometimes, and there are people out there who don't have access to clean water. I just walked over to my tap and poured a glass of water, but people have to hike to wells, and even then, even at their wells in their villages, it's not guaranteed that it's clean. So anything you can give to help out this worthy cause goes a long way. Everybody who has donated so far, and hopefully get more, we're well on our way to maxing our goal. 12,000 looks like we have listed on the page. We're at 10,850 right now. So just go ahead and help us out with that. And still waiting on this next round, but if anyone has any questions about VGC in general from the Twitch chat,
if you'd like to insult Evan,
if you'd like to insult me, or if you'd like to insult Scott, I could do either way. We could do that too. That works for me. Go ahead and ask. I'd be happy to answer.
So in the meantime, we've got the bracket listed on the stream here, which we probably could have put up sooner, but now you know if you were wondering. I'm hoping that all of you at home are using your Etch-a-Sketches to make your own bracket, but we've made your own now, so you can check your answers. So yeah, hopefully we'll get the finals going relatively soon when Zach and Kamal finish up, and if we have time, we'll do the bronze match. But if not, I think that all of the VGC players are just really sick of watching Cybertron play anyway. So it'll be our gift to you if we run out of time.
Oh, we have a question from the Twitch chat for you, Scott. Try Dark Souls asks, how do you deal with bubbling in the top cut? That's not been a problem for you this year, actually.
Yeah, not this year, but I do have a lot of experience, and since TDS is now my bubble buddy, as he has finished 9th at regionals, actually, TDS, I keep a bottle of rum in my desk, and after a Pokemon tournament, I take the bottle out, and I drink as much of it as possible, as quickly as possible, and then I forget.
That's very Mad Men of you. Regular Don Draper over here. And it looks like Zach has just defeated Kamal, as you can see on your stream, actually. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Zach goes ahead and defeats Kamal, so we have Zach versus Ben in our finals. No surprise Zach makes it there. He won 3 regionals in a row, finally dropping the last one. But this should be a pretty impressive finals. This is definitely a match I expect to see later on at Nationals, if not at Worlds.
I was going to say, once again, it's the high seeds winning. CP doing its job. So these two, Zach and Ben are good friends too, so it's always fun to watch them play off. I think they also played in our other exhibition tournament with the Nugget Bridge Invitational. So they always seem to be good at running into each other only when it doesn't actually matter for anything but their pride.
And
donations.
And the nation, yeah. We had a question in the Twitch chat. What is VGC? It's been a little bit, so might as well go ahead and reiterate that. VGC is the Pokemon Company International's official Pokemon metagame, competitive metagame, series of regional championships, 3 dates of the year in North America, and then a national championships, July 4th weekend in Indianapolis, and then Worlds in Vancouver, Canada in August. There are also European tournaments going on very shortly in the UK, France, I believe.
It's the UK, France, and
Germany?
It's Germany and Italy, actually.
Germany
UK,
and Italy.
Germany, and Italy.
Yeah, so national tournaments, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Everyone comes together at Vancouver, Canada, scenic Vancouver, Canada for Worlds in August. Played level 50, basic subway rules. So any Pokemon you're allowed to use in Battle Subway, you can use in the in VGC. So you can't use Mewtwo, you can't use Kyogre, but you can use Latias, you can use Latios. And basically, that's the rules there.
One other question I see in the chat that I'd like to touch on is there any freedom in Pokemon in VGC other than the top 10, like Cresselia, Hitmontop, and more? Yes. I noticed in the chat some of the other players are saying it's probably about 50 viable Pokemon. I actually think that's really conservative. I think it's important to have a handful of like those core Pokemon to help tie your team together. But if you use Pokemon for their strengths, you can get away with a lot in doubles, just because having a partner there protecting your Pokemon makes it a lot easier to get away with some of the more eccentric choices. In singles, everything's out for itself. So if a Pokemon's outclassed, it's outclassed. But because of support Pokemon like Cresselia and like Togekiss and like Amoonguss, you can get away with a lot of cool stuff. Like I know in one of the Wi-Fi tournaments this year, I got away with Tentacruel, which was surprisingly good and not a. I guess it's decent in singles because of Rapid Spin, but an eccentric choice for doubles. Our Animate was doing great with Staraptor. We in 2010 used Parasect in Worlds. Like if you use stuff well, you can get away with a lot of weird Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw Rhydon on Randy's team earlier, which is not something that we ever see really. Apart from Aaron earlier, I mean, there was a time when people were using pretty much the same top 20 Pokemon in different ways, but things have really expanded. Everyone's sort of, I don't want to say gotten bored of it, but they're really looking outside of the box for some new Pokemon that are useful, and they're playing to their strengths.
Yeah, I think it's really tough to win just using the
Talon
same.
P VGC asked why. Nope.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's really tough to win just using the same Pokemon everyone else is using and expecting to just outplay them at it. So, well, it's good to use some of those Pokemon. Like, it's not just novelty that people branch out a bit more for. And, like, I think using cool stuff just to use cool stuff is really foolish. But, like, if you try to be clever about it, I think it's almost the best way to win, to try to use a few Pokemon that are a little more out there if you're using them for the right reasons.
I also want to give a shout out to Cephazon, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I've never actually said it out loud before. From the Elite Four podcast, put this all together. Really great job by him, and really great to see the community coming out for this. Talon asked why Sabaku isn't in the finals. Sabaku lost to Ben in the second round, after he won his buy-in match. Cephazon, good, works for me.
So perhaps he did not use the team that Joe Gem makes, because I don't think that there's any way it could have lost Talon. Other good question from the chat. From Cybertron, who is better, Cybertron or me? Me. I have more CP.
I think that's obvious.
And the player with more CP has won every round this tournament, so obviously it's me.
I'm pretty sure Cybertron is still washed up.
As on a related note, Zach is actually going to win this final because he has more CP, so there's really no point in you watching this. Sorry.
Yes, Skydrop is banned because of a glitch involving gravity. I see some conversation about Latias in the chat, which is a pretty great Pokemon. I used Latias at both of the last two regionals. I was at Georgia and Virginia. I was pretty rusty in Georgia, but I still went 6-2 with it. Latias is really great setting up screens, which we haven't seen enough of. Reflect and light screen. Super good Pokemon. Super good things to have on the field, having physical and special damage, respectively. Especially with the Light Clay, you get 8 turns of that, which is like more than half of the battle. Really, really great Pokemon that is woefully underused. 3-time world champion Ray Rizzo also used it at Virginia, but I did much better than him with it. Much better.
One thing about Latias, I think in general, VGC has a lot of really amazing support Pokemon, and part of why you can get away with some of the cooler Pokemon choices is because the support Pokemon do their job so well. But you can only have, like 1 or 2 on a team, because you need the room for those offensive Pokemon, because sooner or later you have to kill things, and Latias is competing with a lot of really great Pokemon, and I think it's harder to use than, let's say, Cresselia is, and harder to fit on a team, so it could be used a lot more than it is, but people don't always want to put forth the effort to work with it. As far as what the Skydrop glitch is, I see in chat, there's basically, if you use it during gravity, Pokemon can get stuck in the sky forever. I forget exactly how you activate it, but they're just like untargetable forever, and it creates a bunch of problems, which is actually really unfortunate because I think Skydrop would be gimmicky but viable if it was allowed. So it's too bad.
We actually held a tournament on Nugget Bridge, the Skyfall tournament. What if Skydrop was allowed? I'd be really interested in hearing some of the experiences from some of the players in that, just because I do think Skydrop has some really cool applications there. The pun wars have worked. More people have donated to clean water. Thanks so much, guys. Ariana Welch, Feathers, has donated some money there. Rashawn Shakar, or Firestorm, the worst person in the world, did decide to make himself a little bit better by donating some money to Charity Water for more of my puns. Atlas, Mike Dupois, is carrying this event on his shoulders by asking for more puns from me for donating. Anonymous also donating, very good. But Christopher Pukar Semp has donated for fewer puns.
Yes.
I don't know why he would do that. Dr. Palutina has also donated to the Charity Water stream. Thanks so much, everybody. He did not specify whether he wants more puns or not, but who am I to question my doctor?
I think it's fair to say that he probably just forgot to write that he wanted fewer puns because he was in such a rush to donate to make them stop that he just forgot.
I've been really good so far. I haven't done anything. I took the criticism to heart that you are just a heartless person who doesn't enjoy anything in life. But yeah, I'm doing better.
I say I haven't talked about it, but thanks a lot for donating. I mean, we're having fun with the Pokemon tournament here, but we're doing it for a cause, and we really do appreciate everyone who donated. Even if you are mostly Canadian and embarrassments to society because of it.
It turns out Canadians are very generous. Who knew? Who knew? But yeah, any little bit you can give helps us reach our goal. We're doing so well. I am very impressed by the community and how much we've already raised. So really great job, guys. Pukar trying to start a Twitter feed, a Twitter hashtag trend, hashtag stop Evan puns. Feel free to tweet that at me, at NBPlaid. That's at NBPlaid is my Twitter handle. If you would like to tweet that at me or follow me on Twitter, that works too.
And you don't even have to worry about tweeting at me because if you tweet that at him, I will immediately retweet it and then you'll know.
So we are looking at getting this game started pretty shortly. It's going to be, and by pretty shortly I mean right now. So we have Ben 7000 versus Zach Droidcamp. 2 strong trainers. Zach, at the top of your screen here, you see his team: Tyranitar, Hydreigon, Volcarona, Metagross, Breloom again, and Togekiss again, up against Ben, whose team we saw previously: Tyranitar, Volcarona, Thundurus, Latios, Metagross, and Hitmontop. This is a new team from Zach. I haven't seen anything like this from him.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this incarnation of Zach's team. I think Zach is part of why Zach's been so effective this year is that like he knows what Pokemon and styles he does well with and what he thinks is good, and he sticks to like kind of like the same general idea while like trying out new Pokemon that might synergize well with what he's doing. And this is a little bit farther in that direction than it usually is. I mean, Tyranitar is a staple for him, and as is Volcarona. Typically, he's a Hitmontop player, but we see Breloom here as his fighting Pokemon. He did use Metagross at Fort Wayne, and I don't think I've ever seen him use either of the other two. I do think that Togekiss and Breloom are both fantastic, particularly when they are together, and that the metagame is kind of shifting in a way that makes them almost their own team archetype. I mean, when you're thinking about stuff you need to counter in VGC, you get the easy stuff like, oh, I probably should be ready for Sand and Rain and Trick Room. But those two are becoming common and good enough that I think they're worth considering on their own. And Zach has always been a player who's good at keeping up with what's good in a given metagame. So I'm not too surprised to see him trying this stuff out. And I'm interested to see how it'll go because Zach is probably the game's best player right now. No offense to Ray, who's the best player the metagame's ever seen. But with his lazy as he's being lately, Zach is hip and happening.
We only see Ray.
To do for town.
We only see Ray playing at Worlds anyway, so.
Yeah, Zach has to work all year round, whereas Ray plays for 2 weeks out of the year.
Ray flies to San Diego or Hawaii or Vancouver and then just takes home a world championship. No big deal. No big deal. And we're getting underway. And this, the finals of our regional champion show match. Zach Drogamp at the top of your screen. 3-time regional champion. He won 3 straight, leading Metagross and Volcarona up against Ben 7000, who won the most recent, second most recent Virginia regional, leading with that Tyranitar and Thundurus incarnate. And I am surprised that we have not seen more Thundurus this tournament.
Well, I think it's fantastic that we haven't seen more Thundurus because it's a dumb Pokemon and I hate it. But Thundurus is one of the most popular Pokemon in VGC because it has the Prankster ability, like Liepard, which we saw in the previous round, which lets its non-attacking moves have an increased priority. And spamming Thunder Wave is really powerful. It lets you get the speed advantage, which is a big part of winning in VGC. It also has priority taunt and is decently fast. It has a decently strong special attack score to fire off Thunderbolts. So a really good Pokemon if really obnoxious to play against. On Zach's side of the field, we see Volcarona, who is likely similar to Ben's Volcarona.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do with Volcarona, as it turns out. The Thundurus going for the quick, powerful attack, that Thunderbolt boosted by the Electric Gem. That first turn, plus its already massive special attack, deals substantial damage to Metagross, but this Volcarona is using a Fire Gem Overheat onto the Thundurus. So when I said there's only so much you can do with Volcarona, just go ahead and ignore that, because this Volcarona is saying, this is what else I can do. You saw the Quiver Dance, now watch me just nuke something.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see that from Zach. Traditionally, he uses the Quiver Dance variant in most of his teams, but I'm actually a much bigger fan of the Fire Gem Overheat version. I conned Whir into using it at regionals a while ago, and he did pretty well with it. I think it's really strong. Like we think about Dragon Gem Draco Meteor kind of just being like that big token VGC nuke, which you have to survive against, but Volcarona can do the same thing. And since it's a fire type attack, it kills almost everything that you would normally use to tank a Draco Meteor. So it has really nice synergy with a lot of things that are popular. And a lot of Pokemon will try to do things like Thunder Wave or Taunt Volcarona to stop Quiver Dance. And, you know, you can exploit that by blowing them up instead while they're trying to stop you.
That is something that you lose when you get to the round 2 and round 3, however. What we missed at the end there was Tyranitar taking a bite out of Crime and just going ahead and finishing off Metagross before he could even move with that crunch plus the Thunderbolt. So everyone's at 3-3 here, all even up. Ben sends out Zach sends out his Tyranitar while Ben sends out his Metagross. Oh, man, Tyranitar versus Tyranitar, these things kind of confusing to me sometimes. But that Volcarona at -2, not in the best situation. Normally that Metagross would have to be kind of scared of Volcarona, but probably not so much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Overheat's still going to hurt, but it may not KO depending on the EV spreads both ways. Metagross, one of the reasons it's such a good Pokemon in VGC and has kind of been one of the most popular Pokemon in doubles as long as doubles has been a thing. So that, it's strong, it's bulky, it's pretty resilient. You can leave it out there and let it take a beating, and usually it'll survive this move. It didn't, for Zach, but maybe it will for Ben.
Zach with its super speedy Tyranitar using that low kick. As we know, Zach has always been a fan of that Choice Scarf Tyranitar. Gets the low kick, breaks Ben's Focus Sash. Here comes the Bug Buzz, going to get that free KO as well. -2 doesn't really matter when there's only one hit point you have to get rid of. And, the Zen Headbutt on the Tyranitar, expecting a switch, I have to assume.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that prediction, but I mean, that's the thing, that's the risk you take in competitive Pokemon in general. You can't just let your opponent make plays around you like you're an AI or something. And sometimes when you try to guess what your opponent's going to do, you're going to get it wrong. And it was an unfortunate turn there. You also kind of see the advantage of playing a player that you're a little more familiar with. Like I mentioned in the previous round, the whole Focus Sash fast Tyranitar thing from Ben is pretty well known. And Zach knew what to expect there. And didn't just expect low kick to kill Tyranitar for him. He knew he'd probably have to follow up on the Focus Sash and did so with Bug Buzz there.
Yeah, now we see Hitmontop coming back out. Haven't seen as many Hitmontops as I expected, but seeing plenty of them as it is. Hitmontop with that Intimidate going to neuter that Choice Scarf to Tyranitar. Now it's at -1 attack and locked into low kick, which isn't the best thing. So you have to imagine it's going to be switching out of this. As well, that Volcarona is at -2 special attack, so it's still going to be able to deal some damage to Metagross with a super effective attack. But both of those Pokemon not in great situations. So a lot of pressure from Ben here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of awkward because Ben's very far behind, but since both of the Pokemon he's out against have things that are kind of wrong with him right now, Zach at least has to spend a few turns fixing his position. So if Ben makes big plays, maybe he can get himself back in the game.
And it'll let him get some free damage off if he plays this right. Switches out the Volcarona. I probably agree with that decision. Probably the bigger threat here for the Togekiss, which is going to eat a free Zen Headbutt from the Metagross. Deals a little bit over 50% damage, but that Citrus Berry is going to heal it right back up. An extra 25% there after it falls under 50% HP. And the Close Combat going to get the KO on the Tyranitar. I'm not so sure I agree with that play. The Tyranitar locked into low kick, not a huge threat, but maybe he was expecting the switch there, just wanted to get some damage on whatever switched in anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that to be the case. I mean, I don't know if I would have risked Close Combating at all. I mean, Tyranitar wasn't really doing much for him there, other than wasting a spot in the field. So I would have left him out there as long as possible if I could have, were I playing as Ben's side here. But he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's likely going to need an overheat miss to play himself into the game here, but both overheat and air slash can miss, so the chance is always there.
All those 5% and 10% chances, that's all that matters. But yeah, definitely Zach in a really strong position with Togekiss potentially getting that air slash onto now the -1/-1 Hitmontop. And of course, we've already seen that overheat nuke from Volcarona. Not as strong anymore, but it doesn't matter because Metagross is weak to fire type attacks.
The ordinarily powerful, the ordinarily problematic Wide Guard from Hitmontop is much less so here too. Most Volcarona use Heat Wave, but since we've already seen Overheat from Volcarona and Zach's team, it's got a nice solution to the Hitmontop thing.
Zach is not risking an overheat miss, goes with a Bug Buzz, and doubles up with a Flamethrower from Togekiss. I'm not even sure I knew that it could learn Flamethrower, which completely wastes that helping hand from Hitmontop, hoping to get a KO there on that Volcarona there.
So
I knew it got Heat Wave.
Yeah,
didn't know it got Flamethrower.
Heat Wave's a lot more common if you're going to have a fire move there. Even then, it's pretty rare. I know Sajin does it, and other than that, I haven't seen a whole lot of it, but I do remember that Zach likes having a fire move on his Togekiss. I feel like I've seen that in PokeCheck before, so works out pretty nicely for him there. Cleverly avoids having any chance of something going wrong, which I think is something worth pointing out for all Pokemon players, regardless of what type of metagame you're playing. But people like Zach are successful because they don't take lots of unnecessary risks. Like, rather than risking missing Overheat, even though it would have killed had it hit, He plays it as safe as he can and gets his kill by using 2 moves that can't miss.
Yeah, and Ben goes ahead and forfeits that. Knows there's no way that Hitmontop comes out of that one alive. And we're going to move on to game 2. Zach, the number 1 seed. How many championship points does he have? 344, something ridiculous like that?
Yes.
Up against Ben 7000, a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, Ben, he's got 264, which is still a ton of CP, but I mean, I guess it lets you know how far ahead of the pack Zach is, that he's got 344, but is that far ahead of our second seed.
Yeah, the second seed is 80 championship points behind. Zach looking very safe for a Worlds invite coming up. Not guaranteed, but very safe, provided he doesn't completely throw Worlds and all of his opponents do very well.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much requires some like ridiculous movie plot at this point for Zach to miss Worlds. It would likely start with him like falling down a staircase or something and not being able to go to nationals, and then like you'd have to whip out your abacus and figure out a pretty specific way to like assign the CP from all the other players to figure out a way for him not to make it. But I'm really excited to see how he'll do in Worlds.
He is very close friends with Crow, so you never know what'll happen there. At the top of your screen, you see Zach's team. The game 2, Zach versus Ben 7000. Zach's running the Tyranitar, the Hydreigon, which I'd love to see what Zach's running on that Hydreigon, so I don't think he's played that before. Volcarona, Metagross, Breloom, Togekiss, up against Ben's Tyranitar, Volcarona, Thundurus, Latios, Metagross, and Hitmontop. Team that I'm way too familiar with at this point. So I'm much more interested in Zach's team right now.
I wonder if this won't resemble the first series we saw, where, again, in the first turn, a surprise fire move knocked out a Pokemon in one shot, where the Pokemon thought that they were relatively safe, which led to a convincing win. In the first series, it was Phonic Frog and Hidden Power Fire Cresselia, and in this series, it was Zach and his Fire Gem Overheat Volcarona, and that sort of thing, sometimes they'll get you the first game, but at least in the second game, Ben will know he needs to expect it. It's not going to be easy for him to play around it just because he doesn't have anything on his team that can both take an overheat and can take a bug buzz. So if Zach predicts well, he can do pretty big damage to everything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. His only fire resists are Latios and Tyranitar, both of which are going to be hit super effectively by that bug buzz from Volcarona. However, Volcarona has shown that it's Fire Gem, so Tyranitar, with that Focus Sash, could still be able to get rid of it with its Rock Slide if it needs to. But definitely going to be an interesting battle there.
Yeah, I think that Ben finding a way to control Volcarona is going to be a big part of how he has to try to win this game. It's a little ironic, because usually it's the other way around. It's Ben's opponent trying to figure out how to stop his Volcarona, but the shoe is on the other foot. Oh, yep. And a disgusting shiny Hydreigon.
Oh, wow. We've already seen the mustard green. I don't know. I don't even want to call that mustard green. I like mustard. The terrible shiny Scizor. Now we see the terrible shiny Hydreigon. Shiny Pokemon, but you really have to have some taste when you select your shiny Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a world where it's very easy for competitive players to get shiny versions of every Pokemon and like perfect IVs and great natures. But with great power like that comes great responsibility, and you can't just pick the ugly shinies. Like I really want both of them to lose somehow, because they've made terrible choices, and they should feel terrible about themselves.
All right, and that's going to be Hydreigon Volcarona up against Thundurus Tyranitar. Muffins, the Volcarona, going ahead and protecting there. While, Thundurus getting the free substitute off. Going to try and blow that Overheat Fire Gem on there. And Hydreigon also protected itself. Double protect there. So that's a free turn for Ben, and he makes the most of it and gets that substitute up on Thundurus.
Yeah, VGC 2011 Substitute Thundurus was huge, and the idea of Prankster Substitute was really big because you could do up the free turns, and it becomes less popular, but I think it's still a really good move if you can find the room on a Thundurus moveset. A few people, I think it was a Flash MC who used it at Worlds and did very well, and it's something that maybe people should consider going back to. Kind of like Terrakion, where it just like fell out of favor after VGC 11, even though it was still really good because we were just bored of it, I guess.
It was especially good during the big Dragon Gym Latios phase of the metagame because you could just go ahead and bait out those Draco Meteors and blow both the Dragon Gym and lower their special attack at the same time. Tyranitar not going to take any damage this turn, goes for the Protect, while Thundurus does what it does best, and Thunder Waves. At the same time, Hydreigon tries to go for the Dragon Meteor, but no, Tyranitar protected, and it doesn't take any damage from either the Draco Meteor or the Bug Buzz. Great turn for Ben again. He is playing Zach like a fiddle this game.
Yeah, Ben is making the most of his Thundurus here. I mean, this is when Thundurus does its best. When you're tempted to attack its partner so it can get its subs up and get its Thunder Waves off and disable your team. He's slowed Volcarona down. And a slow Volcarona is a really terrible thing in VGC most
Especially
of the time.
Against Tyranitar.
Especially against Tyranitar, who can easily kill it with a single Rock Slide. Hydreigon isn't going to be able to kill Tyranitar in one shot with anything, and even if it could, it's got the Focus Sash. So Ben has put himself in a fantastic spot here. Thundurus is one of the metagame's best support Pokemon, and this is how it does it. It slows stuff down, helps out its sweeper friends, and Ben can also get some super fun Paraflinch action going here since he's applying the Thunder Waves to his opponents, and Tyranitar is ready to start rock sliding away.
If only he had swagger, too.
Yeah, I know. Excited to see some ugly mustard-colored rocks.
Volcarona goes ahead and protects, tries to stave off the Rock Slide, while that Dragon Gym Draco Meteor will do a lot of damage, might bring that Tyranitar down to its Sash, but again, nope, not even down to the Sash. Doesn't need the Focus Sash, only 28 HP there. Thundurus opting for an offensive attack here, going for the hidden power, I have to assume, Ice. Deal some damage to that Hydreigon. Very good damage there, actually. Rock Slide going to deal a good chunk there. Of course, Volcarona has protected itself. Not going to take that Rock Slide and gets the KO on the Hydreigon. Another great turn from Ben. Although that Tyranitar took a little bit of extra damage, but who cares?
I mean, sometimes you're going to take hits in this game, but he gets a kill out of it. He's still got paralyzed Volcarona sitting there looking harmless. And he's forced Zach to send out his own Tyranitar. We did learn in the last game that it is most likely Choice Scarf. I forget if we found out for sure it is. But I think we did find out for sure it is. But
yeah, it went faster than Volcarona.
Yeah, much like Volcarona, Scarf Tyranitar is one of those Pokemon who really, really, really doesn't want to be paralyzed. And with a substitute up on the enemy Thundurus, the odds of avoiding that are real low.
Yeah, especially since his own Tyranitar has Protect, so this is basically a free paralysis onto Zach's Tyranitar, and then either a free superpower on it, or a free Rock Slide onto Volcarona. Thundurus really doing some work this game. Once it got that free substitute, I mean, it has at least one more turn where it gets off probably two Thunder Waves if it needs to. And this is why I'm surprised that more Thunduruses aren't running Substitute. So Ben goes ahead and protects his Tyranitar, not going to let the Scarf get off. Oh, and Rage Powder! I am loving Zach's Volcarona. Rage Powder, possibly the only move left that could have made that Volcarona still useful. And it's paying dividends here. The Rock Slide from enemy Tyranitar is going to break that Substitute and put Zach back in the driver's seat here. Really good play.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way you use that sort of Volcarona, and I was hoping he had it. One of the things I've been lamenting about Nationals last year myself is that I was using a Bug Buzz rather than Fire Gem Overheat with my Rage Powder set, and the whole time on my drive down to Nationals, I'm thinking I should have been doing exactly what Zach is doing right now. It's a really good set. I mean, you get your power off with your Overheat, and then you force things to kill you with the Rage Powder while protecting things like Scarf Tyranitar there.
Yeah, really great play there. Ben decides he's not going to let his own Tyranitar get the die for free. He's going to send in Hitmontop to weaken that Scarf Tyranitar there. Good call there. Doesn't fall for the Rage Powder bait and goes for the Thunder Wave again anyways. Zach clearly expecting another substitute on that Thundurus. Good call by Ben there.
Yeah,
Eats the Rock Slide.
So Zach probably also expected that switch, so he knows he gets a free Overheat in the switching here. If Volcarona isn't paralyzed, this is probably a free kill.
So it comes down to that 25% chance. Is not paralyzed, gets the Overheat, and gets the Fire Gem. That's so much damage coming out from Volcarona, hitting the Hitmontop. And let's just watch as this health bar goes so far down. And the critical hit for good measure. Overkill right there.
I mean, that's one charred corpse right there. I mean, rest in peace, Hitmontop. Volcarona probably killed it about 3 times over.
Oh, poor Hitmontop there. I'm really impressed by Zach's play here. He had to get he got the paralysis on that Tyranitar, so Ben's Tyranitar is going to have a shot here, but not the best shot. And certainly not as good a shot as it had before. But here comes Ben's own Volcarona, too. Which will win, Tyranitar or Volcarona?
Yeah, I mean, each matchup is slightly more identical than the last, other than the one Volcarona not being shiny. I'm just sad that there's no way for Zach to paralyze Ben's Tyranitar, because the paralysis animation makes the shiny Tyranitar slightly less ugly.
So here we go, the mirror match, Volcarona Tyranitar versus Volcarona Tyranitar. You have to give the advantage to Ben, though, just because he's not paralyzed.
Yeah, I'm going to say that not being paralyzed is going to wind up being real important here.
Zach's Volcarona goes for the paralysis, gets it. Quiver Dance from Ben. Does that mean there's a superpower in Zach's Tyranitar's future?
I think so.
We'll see after these messages. No, there's a Rock Slide! And the Protect from Volcarona, let's see if he can get the Paraflinch off here. The Rock Slide dealing a little bit of damage, but he does get the flinch. Lucky break there for Ben.
We did see the Charty Berry in the previous game by Ben's Volcarona, so that was probably all part of the plan. But,
all part of the plan, all planned.
Still a little bit of risk there, but it works out for him. And we now have a much faster, non-paralyzed, slightly more ugly Volcarona staring down the equally ugly Tyranitar and equally paralyzed Volcarona.
Yeah, and I'll be very interested. Looking through Zach's team, there is possibly Togekiss that can take a hit from a +1 Volcarona, but it's not going to be able to KO back. So this looks good for Ben. This is normally his win condition. Get Volcarona to +1/+1/+1 and sweep.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of funny because these two players are both known for the Quiver Dance Volcarona, but only one of them using it here. And this game, it's the Quiver Dance Volcarona who gets the win, whereas last game there was the Overheat Rage Powder set that carried Zach through. 2 great ways to use Volcarona. It's a Pokemon who didn't see quite as much use last year as maybe as it could have, but is pretty dominant in the metagame again this year, other than some of the more gimmicky Tap Moth teams last year.
Yeah, this has been the year of Top Moth, Hitmontop, and Volcarona together. I mean, Zach won 2 regionals and became famous for using it on pretty much all of his teams. Not on this one, but clearly using a more support-oriented Volcarona, and I am excited to see that because we don't normally see the support Volcarona.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's an unpopular opinion because Top Moth and teams around Quiver Dance Volcarona have been so good this year, but I do think that's the better set. So excited to see Zach using it.
I actually really like this because Zach's used Amoonguss before, which also has Rage Powder and Spore, and he's sort of broken up that one Pokemon into 2 offensive threats that have the same utility, Breloom and Volcarona. So I'm a much bigger fan of this Zach team than I have been of his other teams in the past.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, he makes his other teams look good too, but stylistically this is closer to my strike zone, so I certainly prefer it.
And Ben, in classic Ben fashion, taking his sweet time to decide what to do. Ooh. The paralysis. Finally.
Volcarona, for some reason, Quiver Dancing again. Okay, Volcarona.
Volcarona just wants to make sure that... I don't even know at this point. But, +2/+2/+2 Volcarona now. The enemy Volcarona does avoid the Rock Slide, but a critical hit on the Tyranitar. Oh, but it does get its Rock Slide off, which is going to hurt. Not going to do quite enough to KO that Volcarona through the Charty Berry, but it does get the Tyranitar. Not the best situation for Ben there. I'm not sure what was going through his mind in the 5 minutes he took to make that play.
Yeah, I can only assume he's. I've got nothing here. If I'm Ben, I probably just double attack there to increase the odds of ending the turn with two Pokemon with mostly full health rather than one Pokemon with very little health. But
Yeah, if he
they're
has
so they're
if he
both
has
easily
Togekiss in the back, it could still be rough for him,
yeah. I mean they're
even
both
at plus
easily
2.
in Heat Wave range from here, so he should be able to finish out these Pokemon without too much trouble. But he's a
Unless
Heat
it
Wave
misses.
missed away from or losing now.
Yeah. And
On
there
cue.
it is! Enemy Volcarona avoids the Heat Wave. Let's see if it can actually get its attack off. And if it'll be enough, because it does still have plus 2 special defense, but there is that, it does get the overheat off and it does connect. Will it deal enough? Plus the sandstorm damage. Overheat hits and deals not even a little bit of damage. But he's now able to stall out the sandstorm. That only dealt 10 damage from the sandstorm, so he just needs 2 more turns of things not dying to win.
Well, I mean, if you want to not die to a +2/+2 Volcarona, Metagross is probably one of your worst choices. There is the threat of it having Bullet Punch, but if it does not, we will likely see another disgusting shiny get fried.
Which would be enjoyed by all. So
But
here
by
comes...
me the most.
Gotta have the attempt at a Protect here from the Volcarona, from Zach's Volcarona. This is so confusing to me, but if it has Bullet Punch, then Ben has just lost this game. Which would be really a real shame because he was in such a good position only a couple of turns ago. J-Rank in our Twitch chat is predicting the Mamoswine Gone Metal Metagross, which is a set that I hate. I think it's a terrible set. Earthquake, Bullet Punch, Ice Punch, Protect. Really bad set, but would win the game here.
Yeah, I never quite understood why he didn't just use Zen Headbutt on that set instead. But we do see Volcarona whipping out the Heat Wave here and killing the... Oh god, my stream stopped.
Yeah, the Metagross did not have Bullet Punch, and mine also stopped, so don't worry.
Barring the unlikely possibility it has a Focus Sash, the world may never know. And then the power turned off. GG, it was a tie.
No, this isn't 2010.
Oh god!
This is the worst thing ever! So...
Okay, so Metagross was in fact slain in a ball of fire. So
3 HP.
Yeah, so Volcarona will die in one more turn of sand if it happens. So on a double Protect here, Zach would win the game, and otherwise with a Heat Wave hit in a double Protect, or a double Protect, I should say.
Who will win the coin flip? Oh, and the paralysis. Will the Heat Wave hit?
Yes! There it is.
Oh. That was
There was closer than it could have been. And in spite of his best efforts, Ben has won the game, and we'll be seeing a third.
That was one of the weirder ends.
Yeah, I mean, good job, Ben. You got there. I mean,
somehow you made it.
Yeah, you got lost kind of on your way to the end there, but like you got back, like you found the right exit, and there you went. So we have somehow made it to game 3, apparently.
Yeah, Ben did manage to win that coin toss there, after putting it in the situation for that.
So you have to assume, interesting choice by Zach there to not protect Metagross. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it probably doesn't have it.
Yeah. Otherwise, that would have been a clean win with the Bullet Punch.
So no Bullet Punch, probably no Protect, because again, either of those things would have
have gotten the win
there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's choice Metagross. You'd assume without either of those options, that would be the most likely reason.
Yeah, choice Metagross, one of my favorite Metagross sets.
I don't know Ironhead Calcs and Metagross very well, but I was kind of wondering if Ben's wasn't choiced also. But soon we will see.
Yeah, so hopefully we will see. This is going to be the third game in our finals here, which is perfect. Looks like we're timing out about perfectly. We're about 30 minutes left before Shinjinator comes on for the midnight hour of the stream, taking the graveyard shift. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of technical difficulties because it would not be a Pokemon stream without technical difficulties because there is no actual no actual spectator mode for this. But while we're waiting, 2 more donations came in while we were casting. Risham Firestorm Shakar, one of the worst people in the world, has decided to make himself a little bit better by donating to the stream. Sean, I hope that makes you feel a little bit better. And one of my favorite people from the United Kingdom, Adam Dawes Doricott, went ahead and donated as well, even though he wants fewer puns from myself. And
yes.
not only that, but he just wants less me, which I'm sorry, but Scott couldn't carry this on his own. So I don't know what you're going to do about this.
You know.
Yeah, because it's your back who hurts after one of these.
But once again, we want to thank everyone for donating and encourage anyone who's thinking about it to make a donation. I know probably most of you are young enough that you aren't the type of person who's had to give a whole lot to charity yet. And I know a lot of you probably don't have a lot of money, but even a little bit helps. It's for a very worthy cause, and we appreciate it.
If you donate $10 or more and provide your YouTube username as the comment for the donation, you will be entered to win a free copy of Pokemon X or Pokemon Y at the end of the charity stream. So you can go ahead and do that. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, right underneath the lovely stream here on Twitch, donation page, click there. Go ahead and donate to the charity water stream. Help provide clean water for the needy, because everyone deserves access to clean water. Not to editorialize, but I consider that pretty much a human right. So this is a really important cause. All right, and here we go, getting into the next battle. As you see, Zach's team, once more on top, Hydreigon, Tyranitar, Metagross, Volcarona, Togekiss, and Breloom, reading from right to left this time, because I can. And Ben, who will be at the bottom of your screen, has Tyranitar, Volcarona, Thundurus, Latios, Metagross, and Hitmontop. I was excited to see Hydreigon come out, less excited when I saw that it was shiny, and then even less excited when it did absolutely nothing that battle. I don't expect we'll see that again. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something there. I was really excited to see Hydreigon just because I think it's a pretty daring choice in a world where Breloom is starting to dominate. And also a world where Mamoswine is getting more popular, which is Zach's fault. So if anyone should have to deal with Mamoswine killing his Pokemon, it should be Zach for starting this plague and making us all have to deal with it. But I would say the Hydreigon didn't really do anything there. As much as I enjoyed its horrifically designed shiny sprite or model being destroyed. See, we have a disconnect here, so...
Classic Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we wouldn't get through the stream with that one. I didn't want to mention it because then I would be jinxing it, and as a hockey fan, I'm very superstitious about this sort of thing. But we all knew it would happen, and thankfully it wasn't about turn 7 of the battle like it normally is. We've had some problems with that in the past.
Yeah, was it Ben versus Crow in the Nugget Bridge Major?
Yes.
They played about 20 different battles, of which 3 counted.
Yeah, I spent about half an hour trying to remake a game, which I can only assume involved like 70 to 75 napkins worth of math about how they could recreate the battle involving like crits and burns and stuff. But I don't think it actually worked. But I mean, it was a valiant effort, and I respect them for it. But yeah, the Wi-Fi issues are frequent for us. We've had several friendly tournaments against Korea, and as you can imagine, trying to connect from the United States with Korea, we had about, I'd say 30 disconnects in the 5 hours of streaming, which made it seem more like 15 hours of streaming. But Here we are, back in Team Preview, featuring the same 6 Pokemon. Thank God Team Preview does not show shiny sprites, so you can pretend that it's a pretty version of these Pokemon that are about to come out, and add a bunch of horrifically, misformed mutant Tyranitars.
I just never got into the shiny thing. Maybe it's just because I never actually caught one in one of my games, except for Red Gyarados. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with
the originals.
See, I mean, some shinies are fantastic, right? But it's just like, you got to pick the ones that work. It's like ties, right? There's like a million different tie designs you can get. And some of the designs are cooler than just getting like the plain monochrome ties, but many of them are not.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with a plain tie. Everyone should own a plain tie, like a plain black tie, like a plain, not a red tie because you just look like you're going to confirmation, but a couple plain colors. So good, you should have those. But anyway, there's Pokemon happening, and as much as I would love to give fashion advice to our chat, and I'm sure you would too, we do have Pokemon to commentate. Breloom makes his appearance on Zach's side. Sort of the Among Us combination I was mentioning earlier, Volcarona going ahead and using the Rage Powder first turn just to protect that Breloom as Thundurus sets up its Spore onto the Metagross, not getting baited there, which would block that sleep. Metagross falls fast asleep, taking a little snooze. Most Metagross carrying Lumberry, this one not, so possibly a choice band like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this is actually one situation where having Overheat instead of Heat Wave is going to hamper Zach a little bit. He's still in a pretty good position. He gets the sleep off at little cost there. But normally with Heat Wave, he could damage Metagross pretty severely while also breaking that substitute. Whereas with Overheat, he can either kill Metagross and completely ignore Thundurus and also waste the control he has by killing the sleeping Pokemon, or he can waste his Fire Gem and lower his special attack to break a substitute, which is obviously sub-ideal.
Yeah, but at the same time, he could both break that substitute and get the Spore off onto that Thundurus, since we've seen Hidden Power Ice, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave, and Substitute. So he would be able to put that Thundurus to sleep if he did that.
Yeah, so he does have options here, but perhaps not the most clean situation he could hope for. Also, shiny Breloom is. This one's like. See, I think this is a really ugly shiny, but it kind of matches with not shiny Volcarona, so I think I'm okay with this one. Like, this is
it's all
better.
about
Zach.
Coordination.
Yeah, I rate this 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I really like original Breloom. I think it's super good. But
I do too.
Volcarona deciding not to go on the offensive yet. Still going to go ahead and going to eat that Hidden Power Ice. Potentially Dragon, but probably Ice, for not very effective damage here, which is a good call by Zach here, and gets the Bullet Seed off onto the Thundurus, trying to break that sub. It's a good attack on Technician Breloom, but we'll see if he gets enough hits to break that sub.
Should only take a couple.
There's 2 hits, and 2 hits does break the substitute. And it only gets those 2 hits. Kind of unlucky there. Shows its Life Orb there, too, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think
interesting item choice.
I think Life Orb is the only item choice. Ordinarily, or I guess not ordinarily, but sometimes Focus Sash is popular. But with Tyranitar on the same team, not much choice to make. I was gonna say, I've actually been working with a similar set here too, and I like Rage Powder Volcarona plus Breloom a lot because it does have to worry about things like Ice Shard and Bullet Punch and even hidden. I guess many of the types that Breloom is weak to would be slain by because its defenses are like 12. Volcarona resists, so they work together surprisingly well for more reasons other than being various shades of like orange.
Yeah, and that's actually really interesting because a lot of the other sort of redirectors that we think of don't have that same synergy just because of Volcarona's fire typing. Like Amoonguss is the same type as Breloom, so you wouldn't have both Breloom and Amoonguss on the same team. Togekiss, who Zach also has, is weak to ice, so if it needs to redirect an ice type attack, that's not going to be any good for him. Volcarona, very interesting synergy with that Breloom. Breloom goes ahead and protects, Thundurus goes ahead and substitutes, while Volcarona gets the free kill on that Metagross, who's been snoozing this entire battle, doesn't get a chance to do much of anything.
Yeah, I guess while we're on the topic of Rage Powder Volcarona, it actually synergizes is the verb I should use very well with his Tyranitar also, because with all the Breloom in the metagame, it's really weak to Mach Punch, but again, it can redirect that Mach Punch and resist it. I think Rage Powder Volcarona is probably the single best anti-priority move Pokemon in the game. It stops Sucker Punch completely. It resists Ice Shot. It resists Mach Punch. It resists Bullet Punch. Like, it's really good in a metagame where priority has become very strong. Almost every regional finals team from 2 weeks ago had some form of priority, and the Moth is not a fan of allowing you to abuse those moves.
Except for extreme speed.
Which
or
is
quick
cool,
attack.
and everyone should use it. We
Yeah.
did see quick attack, actually. I think there was the Terrakion in Utah was using it, so foiled.
I enjoyed quick attack Terrakion back in 2011 in the Terrakion versus Terrakion metagame. Always a good one. So here we go. The enemy Volcarona has appeared for Zach. Zach's Volcarona continues to just want to redirect those attacks away from Breloom, but it's not going to be able to redirect that Heat Wave from Ben's Volcarona, which is going to deal a lot of damage to that Breloom and go ahead and get the KO on it. Really not much hope there for Breloom, and probably hoping for Ben to get more greedy with his Quiver Dances there. But this Electric Gem Thunderbolt also going to deal a lot of damage to that Volcarona and actually get the KO on that as well. Really good, really good turn for Ben.
Yeah, I mean, talking about turning the battle around, Zach had been in pretty good control from there, but the downfall of that kill he picked up was that, he wasted his Fire Gem, he reduced his special attack, and he had a substitute out on Thundurus that he had to ignore. So he gave up a lot of the pressure he was applying. But
we do see this Tyranitar and Togekiss combination come out, which is going to be very strong against both of these, especially now that Thundurus has blown his Electric Gem. But we still have to worry about that Charty Berry on the Volcarona, which we've already seen deal a little bit over half damage with an Intimidate.
Yeah, we also see yet another redirector here. Instead of Rage Powder this time, it's Follow Me, which is exactly the same move, but with a shiny new animation, which would also allow Tyranitar to avoid getting paralyzed, much as we saw last game.
Only bugs and poison types get the Rage Powder because they have powders on their wings or something. I don't know.
Also Smeargle.
Also Smeargle, because Smeargle gets everything. Volcarona goes ahead and protects as Tyranitar fires off its Rock Slide. Going to break that substitute on Thundurus. Eventually it takes some damage for its efforts, but that Thunderbolt is going to be targeted at the Togekiss, which deals, excuse me, a pretty impressive amount of damage there. A very offensive Thundurus with that Electric Gem, even though he already blew that earlier. Citrus Berry gets it back up to where it needs to be, though, and the Air Slash is blown straight into that Protect from Volcarona.
Now, one interesting prediction on both sides, though, whereas Zach assumed that he would predict the Rage Powder and not Thunderwave after leaving himself open to it, and then unfortunately wasn't able to take advantage of it very much since he Air Slashed to protecting Pokemon, but kind of good, half-good predictions by both sides there.
It was a good hustle, good effort. Both teams played hard.
So I'm curious, too, with how much damage Togekiss took there, if it might be more physically defensive rather than specially, because that seems like a lot.
Yeah, expecting to take more Mach Punches than Thunderbolts from Thundurus, I guess. Ben switches in his Tyranitar, especially knowing that Zach's Tyranitar is now locked into Rock Slide. It's a good call there. He's going to be able to take out Tyranitar with the Superpower if Togekiss doesn't just redirect it away. And Rock Slide coming out from Zach's Tyranitar. These Tyranitars, these mirror matches kill me. Gets the KO on Thundurus and gets a critical hit on Tyranitar.
That's a really big crit. Zach only needs 2 Rock Slides to kill it now. So all it takes is a single Follow Me redirecting Superpower, and Zach can win the game. Like a Flint should win it for him if he hits Rock Slide twice in a row, but Volcarona is probably dead in the water here. It should easily die to Rock Slide if he doesn't miss it. So the only way Ben can win this game is if his Tyranitar finds a way to kill Zach's, and 2 Rock Slides are all it'll take to finish it off.
Ben's Volcarona still does have Charty Berry, though, so it can take 1.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it does, even without Intimidate, but because it's Jolly rather than Adamant, so not that strong.
So it'll be pretty close. It might come down to sand damage in that case.
Yeah, because it's only taken 1. I had been thinking it had been out in sand more turns, but it's still strong and ready to battle. And
Volcarona only, the purple Volcarona only taking 10 damage from sand there. So this is going to be a very close battle here. possibly even Ben's Volcarona might be able to take out that Togekiss in one shot now. With the heat, probably not with the heat wave because of the damage split, but if it can do that, then that would be an easy win for Ben there. Definitely going to be a very close turn here. Very tense. Ben going to go ahead and protect his Tyranitar. Good move there, I think, just to defend itself against taking that extra Rock Slide damage. This Volcarona eats its Charty Berry, weakens the effect of that Rock Slide, and it deals enough damage to bring it into 2880. The avoid onto Tyranitar, but it does hit the Togekiss, who paralyzes the Volcarona. Thunder Wave on Togekiss, very good move. Pretty underplayed on it too.
And it probably won't be too big of an impact there, but can't hurt.
So it looks like we're going to have a pretty intense matchup here. Possibly coming down to the paralysis on Togekiss and the mischance on Rock Slide here.
Yeah, the one big thing about that Thunder Wave is it removes an option for Ben, and that if Volcarona had dodged the next Rock Slide, before he could have Heat Waved and then Superpowered and gotten both kills that way. But since he's paralyzed now, Volcarona will move after Togekiss, or after a Tyranitar rather. So if he Superpowers and Togekiss follow me's, it'll eat it.
So a very tense move here. If you're Ben, do you have to go for the chance of paralysis there and hope that you can get your superpower in?
Yeah, I think probably do. Because I mean, he's gonna have to dodge a Rock Slide otherwise. So I think that I'd prefer to bank on the fully paralyzed and winning instantly rather than a Rock Slide going my way and still needing other rolls to help me.
10% versus 25%. And then some. Volcarona goes for the Protect, trying to stay alive a little bit longer, weaken that Rock Slide damage if it needs to. Follow Me comes in from Togekiss, doesn't get the paralysis, and the Rock Slide coming off from enemy Tyranitar doesn't deal any damage to Volcarona. It's going to deal too much damage to Tyranitar and the Superpower onto the Togekiss. This should be a cleanup for the Scarf Tyranitar on Zach's side. The 25% roll did not go his way.
I mean, he can still miss a Rock Slide here, but that's, I don't know. I guess at least he gets to try twice this way, right?
He can still miss a Rock Slide on either Volcarona and Tyranitar. If he misses it on Volcarona probably also needs to crit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyranitar's going to have to get out his dodging boots.
They got a couple of options here, but none of them coming to fruition. Rock Slide hitting both Pokemon, and Zach Droidcamp goes ahead. The number 1 seed, 344 championship points, proves why he's the number 1 seed, walks away with the win, and takes this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we only ended up with one match in the entire tournament where the player with more CP didn't win, so apparently that means something. But yeah, great game by both players there. That was a really close series. Had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, definitely a very close game. Is it actually Dracamp? How do you pronounce Zach's last name?
All I know is that it's not Drogen Vamp, which is what they tried to do in the World's LCQ when his name was in the pairing there. But
yeah,
it's a great question. A great question I don't have the answer to.
The Great says it's Dracamp. Interesting.
He would know, probably. So.
Zach Dracamp. Okay, good to know. Congratulations, Zach Dracamp, for the victory in tonight's Regional Championship Invitational Tournament. Congratulations to him. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It's been a really fun night, and I'm so happy to be a part of something for a good cause here. Again, donation page down here at the bottom. We still got about 13 minutes left on our time before Shinjanator comes on after us. So if you guys have any questions for me or Scott, go ahead and ask them in the Twitch chat. We'll get to them. Go ahead and click on the donation page. Click to donate. We've raised a good amount of money. we currently have, as I refresh the page, we currently have $10,910 raised, which is a lot of money. I wish I had that much money, but it's better, so much better that it goes to this charity, providing clean water for those who are without it. Anything you can give, anything that you have would be appreciated. Go down here to the donation page. And during the battle, looks like we have a new giver, a Rafal Gladys. Oh my god, I just butchered that name too. Faragon96 on YouTube.
Evan is our expert nameologist.
Thank you, Faragon96. Hashtag Yee wants to know what the most annoying battle strategy is. For me, it has to be level 1 Aeron. For those of you who aren't aware of it, level 1 Aeron uses, frequently with Trick Room, uses Endeavor to ensure that it just removes all of your HP, and then it's friends, go ahead and kill your Pokemon. I've lost to it 3 times in regionals, but I did defeat a level 1 Aeron in Georgia, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Speaking of the Pokemon Aeron, I can't take it seriously because I once had a professor whose name was spelled exactly the same way, and the entire time I took the class, I was just thinking of the Pokemon, and now it just makes me smile.
Sonic's Classic Channel wants to know what our favorite genie from Gen 5 is. I am a really big fan of Thundurus Incarnate because of the reasons we saw, just to spam Thunder Wave. I used it on my teams in Georgia and Virginia for swagger, not on the opponents, but on my own Pokemon. Prankster Swagger, just too good. Big fan of that one. What's your favorite, Scott?
I guess my favorite to battle with is definitely Tornadus' incarnate form, now that we have the Dream World ability for it. Defiant is really good in VGC just because Intimidate is really strong, and it's nice to have something to deter people from just spamming it willy-nilly. But my favorite, I guess if I wasn't trying to be a super try-hard VGC player, is definitely Landorus Therian form, because a Lannister always pays its debts, and it's clearly a lion.
Yeah, Landorus Therian form is fun, though I've really enjoyed watching you playing your Lipard against Landorus Therian form and getting the foul play KOs on it.
R.I.P. Landorus.
R.I.P. Therian Tornadus. I really like Therian Tornadus. In theory, I wish it were a better Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool in singles because Regenerator is like actually a useful ability there, but it just like at an awkward speed tier in VGC, and it can't kill enough things in one shot, and too many things can kill it in one shot. But it's like a hen or something, and I'm a big fan of that. So at least it's a really cool design.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Because like, I don't understand how Thundurus Therian is so good, but looks so stupid. Like, I don't even know what it's supposed to be. I mean, I have a lion and like a hen thing, and I can't actually use either of them. Like, the world is cruel, and this is why I hate that I get stuck using stuff like Cresselia instead of things that look awesome, like Musharna, who is clearly Mr. Drippy from Ni no Kuni.
Hashtag Yee wants to know, can you do Immortal Spiritomb Sableye? Wonder Tomb, Wonder Eye. I actually don't know the answer to that. Can you skill swap Wonder Guard?
No.
No.
You can't. Yeah, that's one of the weaknesses of the ability, is that you can't. You can neither trace or skill swap it. So, well, there's a lot of cool like shenanigans with skill swap you can do in VGC. One of the more interesting of which is the gimmick team with like skill swapping and role playing no guard, and then spamming one hit KO moves. So like, there's some funny stuff you can do, but Wonder Guard, they were smart enough not to let us do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, some cool. Wolf Glick got to the finals of Worlds for skill swapping Levitate onto his Heatran, which sparked a very brief trend in the metagame of levitating Heatran, which was very annoying. I used it in Pennsylvania to mixed results. I lost to a level 1 Aeron there, actually. Going back to the other question.
So a question we can actually give some useful advice to. Any tips to someone going for Nats for the first time? On my end, there's 2 things. First of all is not to worry too much about how you do, which is easy for me to say since I think the most notable fact about me and Pokemon is that I'm really bad at nationals. But like the atmosphere is fun. Like, I mean, it's amazing to get to go there and like play with a bunch of other players who are really into the game, and like the tournament is fun, but like the point is not the tournament, right? Like you go there to play Pokemon, but the reason it's fun to go is the stuff around the tournament. Like only one person can win the tournament, but everyone can have a great time there. But as far as the actual battling part, I think the most important thing is to use Pokemon and teams that you're familiar with. You'll do the best if you're using stuff that you know how to use well. I think too many people try to change and use something at the like the week before because they think it's really hip and happening and trendy and good in the metagame or whatever, and then they can't play it as well as the stuff they were playing before. I think that's why players like Zach have been so good this year, because he uses stuff that he knows how to use and not like weird flavor of the month gimmicks. So that'd be my advice. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm a person who's always come in sort of middle of the pack at nationals, but there are people who go to nationals and think I want to win this tournament. But as Scott mentioned, only one person can win that, and you shouldn't get down on yourself for losing a game or losing 2 games or 3, or 4 or 5. No one really. It's not really the major point of at least why I go to nationals. I go to nationals because I enjoy the community, I love the people, and it's just a really fun time. And I definitely recommend it to anyone who has an interest. I started going to nationals in 2010 just because it was in Indianapolis and I was in Bloomington, Indiana. So it was an hour north, and I've gotten so into the community, and it's a good time, even if you're not particularly competitive. Spymander wants to know what my favorite Rotom form is. The best Rotom, unequivocally, is the Lawnmower Rotom. There's a nice clip of some the world's intro there too. But the best Rotom is Lawnmower Rotom. Although the best competitive one is probably Washing Machine.
The answer is yeah. I mean, Evan has the yes. There's a brief shot of the 2 Nugget Bridge admins who aren't involved here. You see Paul with the American flag cape, but yeah, I mean, Rotom Cut is definitely like top 5 most ridiculous / awesome concepts I've ever seen.
It's a lawnmower.
And like seriously, like how can you not love a lawnmower Pokemon? Like what a terrible / great idea. Like I don't know what they were thinking when they thought they'd have like an angry zombie lawnmower thing, but it's fantastic, and I wish I was good enough to make it work. So I know Randy was trying recently, so please, good luck, make it work. Because
please, Randy.
Yeah. Lawnmowers are awesome, and so are you.
Favorite weather team, Huiha, Perpetual Worlds competitor. He's been in like all of the worlds. Had the best hail team in the world with Special Gyarados. He wrote it up on nuggetbridge.com. If you go to nuggetbridge.com and search Surfing in a Winter Wonderland, that's the name of the article. He wrote up a full analysis. Special Gyarados spamming surfs onto Gastrodon, Rotom Refrigerator, which is the second best Rotom form, and Abomasnow. Really great team, really fun team there.
Yeah, I actually agree with you.
It's definitely the best weather team, I think.
Like I pretty much exclusively play weather teams, and it's all rain and sand. But like I play it because it's good, not because I think it's cool. Whereas we actually did better than me at Worlds with a much cooler team. Vague pun intended with the cool hail thing. So
donate if you want to stop Scott's puns.
Hui is a much more clever player than me as far as like picking out weird stuff like that, and I was really entertained by what he did. And plus, I mean, anytime you can get shiny Special Gyarados with choice specs and actually do good in any sort of competitive form, I think you're doing it right.
Gig Flash K wants to know if one-hit KO moves are usable in VGC. And was it 2010, the Japanese national champion used the Sheer Cold Suicune to great effect. It's I played around with a team like that earlier, and Lynn Alakadul used one earlier too, I think at Nats and at one of his regionals. It's really good because it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. There's only a 30% chance of it hitting, but if you have another threat alongside, like the Sheer Cold Suicune, then you're either distracting attention from your threat, or you're getting a 30% chance to just one-hit KO something that should not be one-hit KO'd by Suicune that just sits around. So I like it. I like one-hit KO moves in VGC. If I taught Toxic to a Pokemon, which Pokemon would it be? I ran Toxic on my Rotom Wash in my teens I used in Georgia and Virginia. Isn't that great in VGC because there is a 20-minute time limit for the actual but it's very useful for people who try to cheese you and do things like Power Swap Shuckle Blissey, which I actually played in Virginia, and Toxic did good work there. I like that. Chrysaros, is Gengar good for competitive use? I don't know. I don't think so. Scott, can you see a reason for Gengar?
Not in VGC. I think you can get away with it in singles still, and like it was really good in Gen 3 and I think 4. But it's really frail in VGC, and if you're going to be frail in VGC, you need to be able to kill other things in one shot. And Gengar has suffered a lot from the fact that Pokemon have gradually gotten a little bit more optimized since Generation 1. Like, the special attackers are just like a little bit more special or whatever. And poor Gengar is just like, it can do like 80% to everything and then get killed in one shot.
Yeah, Zach mentions Destiny Bond. I like Destiny Bond. It's neat, but yeah.
It's got, I think Wolf used it in a Parish Trap team, which is super gimmicky and not something I could imagine him using the way he used it in like a serious real life event, but I think that's as close as you can get.
Yeah. As you talked about Gengar not being optimized, I think that's really an interesting point because I love the Gen 1 Pokemon. I grew up on them, and that's one of the hardest things I think for new people just now getting into Pokemon, especially people our age, like college age, who are, going to these events. Their favorite Pokemon from when they're growing up aren't necessarily as viable, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I will say that the abilities that they added in Dream World or whatever, and Gen 5 helped a lot of old Pokemon. Like stuff like Ninetales at least has a niche. Like we saw Rhydon today, I guess got helped by a Violet. Like I'd say probably the amount of usable Gen 1 Pokemon doubled because of the ability changes, but they're just not that good. I do like the question in the chat. Do you think that they'll ever like redo base stats again?
I wish.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my Pokemon pipe dream there. I don't think they ever will because it's like such a massive change. But like giving some of the old Pokemon, especially just like little bit boost so they could like scale up with the rest of the Pokemon, would make a lot of them a lot better. And I wish that instead of making so many more Pokemon, they would just make more of the Pokemon good, because I love most of them. And like, I mean, I've played through all of the games, like I'm attached to a lot of them, and I wish I could use more of them competitively. Even though I think the competitive pool is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be one of the best things they could do to the game, just because I like those Pokemon so much. How do we feel about the rumors of a new type in Gen 6? It depends. I will be very happy with it if it resists the Dragon type attack and is super effective against Dragon. So Dark type and Steel were introduced in the second generation because Psychic was too powerful. I would love if there was a new type introduced this generation that was better against Dragon, because Dragon type is way too strong right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if they had like if they said Fairy type, which is probably the dumbest type name I've ever seen, but if they had like Magical Fairy Pull, which worked like Magnet Pull, and like as soon as you sent one out with a Dragon, they were trapped. And then if you had some move that was like Quick Attack, except it instantly killed all Dragon Pokemon, I would probably be okay with that existing competitively. Like, I don't know, the Dragons totally dominate the metagame, and like I feel like it's actually not as bad in VGC as it is in singles, but which says something about how bad it is in general. I don't know, I wish they would make more good ice Pokemon, because like Zach is spamming about Mamoswine right now, but he's actually totally right. Like Mamoswine is as good of a solution as far as ice types as we have in VGC, but it's not that great of a solution, which is a sign that the problem is really big.
Yeah, I mean, I've adapted. Early on, you saw Dragon Gym Latios on every team. We only saw one Latios tonight on Ben's team, and he didn't bring it out. That one is Dragon Gymmed, and it still hits like a truck. But people have adapted. They're building more especially defensive, but that in itself is just way too centralizing. So we'll see how it works out, but I really want some nerfs to the Dragon type. Dragon type is awful. I hate Dragon type.
Also, the only cool dragon isn't even good anymore. R.I.P. Dragonite.
Dragonite's fine. It's got multi-scale. That's cool. Delibird. The best type is Delibird.
Trista agrees wherever she is.
Yeah. Ryuzaki agrees, who brought that to Nationals in 2010 when she was playing in a metagame with Ubers, with Groudons and Mewtwo's. Delibird, that's fun. It's a fun Delibird. I forgot about that team. It's a good team.
I think all that Delibird really does for me is I like playing that Stadium 2 mini game and just like running at people and stopping them from picking up presents. Like, I think you're supposed to collect presents in that game, but all I like to do is
stop
play
people
defense.
from getting them.
Everything that my basketball coach taught me when I was like 8 is used right there.
Gotta have those fundamentals. All right. We're going to be signing off for the night. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to us talk about Pokemon and watching some really great Pokemon matches. It's been great. I'm glad that we could help out with this cause. Charity Water is great. Donate at the page down there. It's super good. It's a really important cause, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. Any last thoughts, Scott?
Evan's puns are terrible.
Great. Thanks for watching. We're from nuggetbridge.com if you want to check that out. Follow me on Twitter at NBPlad or Scott at NBNostrum. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Shinjanator now.